Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Horror Game. I have the Evil God source code. Chapter 61. In Luo Shu's plan, if all the alien species are blocked back, Renwei and them can only fight with their backs and rush out of the police cordon head-on. The so-called Plan B means that once the number and capabilities of the alien species exceed Luo Shu's expectations, then He Zhengu's people must support the battlefield as quickly as possible. It must be unreliable to wait for the follow-up troops of the police. When they come, they can only wash the ground and burn incense. People must be dead. On the other side of the walkie-talkie, Vivian was in the rear, and the information was delayed after all. She was surprised. Are you sure? Is the situation above already so serious? Huzai didn't tell me. Huzai is another male assistant of He Zhengu, who communicated with the police with Luo Shu just now. Luo Shu tilted his head and looked at the mutilated male corpse in a suit on the ground in front of him. The left arm and right foot of the male corpse were missing, and the buttocks and head were bitten to pieces. That's Huzai. Luo Shu took the walkie-talkie and said, "Ang, he can't speak now, so I'll tell you directly, hurry up." Vivian. Okay, I'll do it right away. Hold on. Luo Shu casually threw away the walkie-talkie, picked up the rifle, and looked vigilantly at the Shira battlefield around him. Everywhere you look, there is purgatory on Earth. The policemen who keep coming in are fighting on their own, and many people have been knocked down and torn apart by various alien species. The well-trained flying tigers can barely form a formation, forming two inner and outer circles back to back, slowly moving outwards. There are constantly aliens trying to kill them, but they are repelled by their intensive firepower. After finishing a box on the outside, they enter the inner circle to replenish, and then alternate back and forth. Cool resemblance to the early Wuzhou musket tactics. Zhang Feng hid in the distance, set up the machine gun, and swept it indiscriminately, and the bullets floated into the sky. Luo Shu walked over, picked up the HK-416, and aimed at the heads of those alien species in a dignified manner, short and burst. Have you never eaten pork? Haven't you seen a pig run? Hit and hit, it does feel better, and can explode one or two aliens from time to time. There are residual broken arms everywhere, dripping with blood. Zhang Feng looked at these terrible scenes and was already in a panic. Luo. Brother Luo, what should we do now? Escape. The police can't hold it anymore. What are you doing? Just hit them on the head. Luo Shu yelled. Finish the proficiency in the firearms field. In fact, the bullets are not enough to make it like this, and the headshot efficiency is higher. Luo Shu was also very anxious. He saw that the policemen were retreating steadily, and although many of those alien species had died, they were aggressive and fearless. The police couldn't figure out how many alien species were behind, and people were afraid of death, so of course they could only retreat while fighting. Luo Shu looked at the building that hides endless secrets. It was pitch black inside, with white gunpowder smoke coming out faintly. I couldn't tell how much of it there was. Suddenly, his eyes began to tremble and fluctuate. The real picture flickered like an old TV with a bad signal. Luo Shu said happily, "It's finally here. How did this round come?" Exception source code. In the last script world, the abnormal source code provided several scene flashbacks, allowing Luo Shu to see important clues. But this time it's different, there's no flashback to the past. Instead, Luo Shu's line of sight directly penetrated the outer wall of Yinsheng building, piercing the darkness. It's an amazing experience. Luo Shu's gaze was like a bullet being shot out. Approach quickly, and then penetrate the outer wall. The screen changed to black and white. In the white background, he saw some black shadows. There are about a dozen odd-shaped aliens guarding a bald man in the middle. That man seems to be directing the aliens. There were quite a few aliens, who were obviously injured and were very weak inside, but after hearing what he said, they got up their spirits again, and rushed towards the police without fear of death. Then the bald man pointed to the north side of the hospital, and then walked towards the back door of the building among the last dozen or so alien protections. Perspective ends. The line of sight is withdrawn instantly. I go. Luo Shu rubbed his eyes and understood. The alien army is at the end of its strength. The person in charge should be Renwei. He asked some of the alien species left behind to pretend to be fearless and faint, and actually wanted to escape from behind. The police kept adding in, and there was no one on the periphery. He can escape directly by jumping over the wall. At this time, the psychological defense of the police has been broken. Including the flying tigers, the formation was gone, and they were all running back crying and howling. Zhang Feng looked at Luo Shu's expression. He thought he had understood Luo Shu's style, so he said, "Let's go. Brother Luo, let's run quickly. Let them back up." Luo Shu hesitated for a moment, then suddenly shook off his hand. He gritted his teeth, threw away the exhausted rifle, refilled the 2 submachine guns, and went retrograde again. Run, fart. If you run the mission again, you won't be able to complete it. If Ren Wei really ran away, he just found a port to smuggle in. In the future, the world will be big, how can he be caught again? Even if it can be caught, how long will it take? The policemen fled in howling ghosts and foxes, and behind them, there were at least a dozen aliens crawling or running after them. The audience in the live broadcast room can see it at this moment. Luo Shu's SAN value suddenly soared from 112% to 130%. Barrage. I'm also an old viewer of horror games. If you don't understand, just ask, can this SAN value go up? Never seen it. New setting. I have only seen it from Master Shira, so I am looking for the same solution. It should not be a setting, but Luo Shu is very talented. Normal people's negative emotions, including fear, depression, will reduce the SAN value, but Luo Shu will increase it. Aha, I have been paying attention to him since the novice task. Luo Da's SAN value rises, and his state will become very good and powerful. It's like being on steroids. Indeed so. In front of you is another decision-making point on the front line of life and death. Luo Shu's thinking ability has been greatly mobilized. Under the influence of the abnormal source code, the speed of his brain will increase rapidly as the SAN value increases. The howling and fleeing policemen in front of me, the ghostly aliens, seem to have slowed down a lot. Having seen Ren Wei, Luo Shu didn't want to miss this opportunity. He quickly calculated in his mind the possibility of rushing towards the monster to capture Ren Wei alive. Your own physical strength, reaction force, number of bullets, including the heat of the barrel. Zhang Feng's machine gun, the helicopter overhead, and He Zhenggu's unerringed support. He is accurately calculating all the variables that can be calculated. Okay. Within 1/3 of a second, Luo Shu calculated the probability of success. 70% success rate. But the biggest risk has not erupted yet. In the clone base, who is in charge of managing and training clones? Those people must have hot weapons, why haven't they appeared yet? Where are they? This is a team hidden in the dark. Vivian asked Vivian to check it before, but the battle was fierce, and she obviously didn't have time to find out more information. Those people are now a bigger threat than alien species. It is likely to be a force from outside the country. That's too late. Get rid of the wave in front of you first. Thousands of fragments of information, all in the eyes. Luo Shu's thoughts returned to reality, and he shouted, Zhang Feng. Set up the machine gun and get ready to fight. In this kind of situation, even though Zhang Feng has experienced the script world many times, he was still nervous and at a loss, and finally set up his M60 light machine gun. He was sweating profusely. Okay. Luo Shu waved at the fleeing policeman in front of him. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Although those policemen were fleeing, they were not crazy. Seeing Zhang Feng, a big fat man, was holding a machine gun with the black muzzle pointed at them, of course they would dodge. Expose the group of aliens behind you. The different species are of different sizes, the largest is even 5 or 6 meters high, like a small mountain, most of them are between 1 meter and 3 meters, some are like clumsy bears, some are like flexible toads, there is a smaller, faster cat-like xenomorph, just like the previous, Zerola, that can generate electricity. The muzzle of the M60 began to spit flames. The 7.62 mm standard rifle bullets formed a deadly metal storm. Within range, truth is everywhere. The fastest-running alien was hit by the first wave of bullets, and his skin was instantly torn apart. Small alien species with relatively low defense power were directly beaten into a pile of rotten meat. Ah! Zhang Feng shot while roaring. Even though the recoil was borne by the machine gun mount, he was still so shocked that his fat body trembled and his face was flushed. But it's not good, except for the first wave, his other bullets floated into the sky again. And the aliens react very quickly. and most of them can dodge sensitively. The police were overtaken, and the screams were endless. Luo Shu put an ammunition belt on Zhongfeng's machine gun, held it together with him, and shouted, "Let's press the gun together. I say which one to shoot. Don't move. I will do it. You are mainly responsible for pressing the gun. Now, shoot." "It is good." Zhongfeng fired again. This time, with two people controlling the machine gun at the same time, the accuracy was greatly improved. Luo Shu attacked very strategically. Just hit those who are big, slow, and hit the nimble ones, to the police. No matter how they escape, they will almost be bitten to death, and they will always fight back. At such a short distance, even if it can't kill the alien species, it can still injure it. At the same time, the helicopter overhead also adhered to the same strategy. There is also a machine gun on the helicopter. The police above did not dare to shoot at the places where people and aliens were anxious, and could only shoot the larger aliens a little farther away. After all, it was an airborne machine gun, and it was quite powerful. A tall alien that looked like a rhinoceros was blown away. At this time, the well-trained heterogeneity is reflected. First, they spread out as far as they could, rushing towards the fleeing police officers. Then two of them formed a cooperation and became a raiding unit. One of them is a thick frogman, much bigger than the one just now, nearly 3 meters tall. On his back lay a strange species covered in dark yellow hard scales. This one was much smaller, shorter than normal people, like a child. Its sharp claws dug into the skin of the frogman's back and held it firmly. The frogman carried it on his back and quickly climbed up the outer wall of the nearby hospital building. Luo Shu noticed this scene and quickly understood their intentions. No way, frogmen have strong muscles, and they seem to have suction cups on their hands and feet, so they can climb extremely fast on the outer walls of buildings. Helicopter over the side also noticed it. The headlights of the searchlights hit the past. The frogman ignored it and continued to climb. The helicopter seemed to be worried. There were still many patients in the hospital building who hadn't evacuated, so they didn't dare to shoot, but Luo Shu saw the frogman's intention. He crossed his hands vigorously under the helicopter and shouted, "Get out of the way. Its target is you. Pull up. Can you hear that? Pull up." The helicopter's propeller was too loud, and the people inside couldn't hear Luo Shu's shouts. Luo Shu had no choice but to run back and pull up the machine gun again. The bullets followed the frogman's buttocks and fired more than a dozen shots. At this distance, the machine gun can't grasp the point of impact at all. It can't hit the fast-moving target. Luo Shu said angrily, "This is much harder than CF." At this moment, Zhongfeng, who was supposed to help him press the gun, was busy changing the belt, changing from the main shooter to the assistant shooter. There is no other meaning of pressing the gun, it is simply pressing the gun. In just the blink of an eye, the frogman had already climbed to the top of the building. The helicopter was right in front of him, and the headlights were still shining on it. The frogman carries a hard shell on his back, and stands upright like a muscular man with overdeveloped muscles under the endless night sky. The headlights shine on his blue-gray skin, as if glowing. The eyeballs on the top of its head stared at the helicopter, then opened the frog's big mouth and smiled evilly. The helicopter pilot seemed to understand something, his eyes suddenly widened. "Grandma Thure, then pull up urgently." As soon as the policeman in the engine room pressed the trigger, the bullets from the machine gun were misdirected. The policeman turned his head angrily. "What's wrong? I want to hit it." Then he turned his head and looked at the roof again. All he saw was a frogman jumping into the air. What the FXXK? The helicopter was pulled up very fast, and the jumping ability of the frogman was also limited. Halfway through the jump, even though I tried my best to reach out, I still couldn't reach it. Both the police and the pilot on the helicopter breathed a sigh of relief. However, the hard-armored alien on the frogman's back raised his head as if he had just woken up, and pulled out the sharp claws that pierced the frogman's back skin. The frogman was castrated and was about to fall, but the alien that looked like a pangolin stood up on the frogman's back, bent his knees, and charged. Then jump up, like a little cannonball, rushed to the helicopter. At the moment of contact, it fit around itself and turned into a completely defensive spherical Ben. Boom! The helicopter in the air suddenly tilted. The propellers hit the alien species, and they broke down one after another. All this happened in the blink of an eye. The two different species completed an alley-oop jump in perfect harmony. Destroyed the only helicopter on the scene. Zhang Feng stared dumbfounded until Luo Shu kicked his ass. Be careful. Zhang Feng was kicked and staggered, and fell to the ground. At the same time, a section of the helicopter's broken propeller turned into a large rotating blade, slashed at the position where he was standing just now with a clang, and bounced away. The propeller spins out of control and falls next to the hospital building. Bang! The fire is soaring. Zhang Feng looked a little broken. These monsters have brains. They are like secret agents. Thieves are so powerful. The police who were already fleeing were even more desperate when they saw that the helicopter was gone. The flying tigers and the police are already in a race to see who can run faster. As we all know, in ancient battlefields, defeat means being slaughtered. In fact, it's the same now, when they gave up shooting and just ran, leaving their backs to the faster aliens. Then death is the only ending. A policeman from the Flying Tigers even threw away his gun and ran desperately. He is the person farthest from the battle situation, almost running to the door of the hospital. A tree next to him suddenly moved and stretched out its branches, causing him to fall heavily. Then a different species stepped out in front of the tree trunk. It looks like a thick stick insect, obviously integrated into the insect's gene, so standing in front of the tree is like being invisible. It walked slowly to the police officer. When the police saw it, they were terrified and wanted to crawl back. Then it was pierced by its sharp forelimbs. The last thing he saw was a withered human face on a giant worm, making a sad expression. At this moment, the center of the battle situation. Zhang Feng stood up and held the machine gun, shot and killed a small alien species that rushed up, then turned his head and shouted with a mournful face, "Brother Luo. Run, the police are unreliable." Luo Shu filled him with ammunition, and found that there was only one belt left. He held Zhang Feng's hand, and the two of them held the handle of the machine gun together, and continued to shoot the aliens in front of them steadily. Luo Shu saw that although there were still different species coming to replenish, in fact, there were only 6 big ones and 4 small ones left in front of him. But there are only 2 of them. The police collapsed. Zhang Feng cried, "I can't beat it. I can't run away." Luo Shu shouted, "Believe me, if you hold on a little longer, reinforcements will arrive." Zhang Feng cried, "How long is it?" Luo Shu said casually, "You will be there when you silently count to 50. While speaking, he pulled the trigger, and the bullets from the machine gun poured out, beating a big guy walking towards him to such a mess that his stomach was opened and the water flowed out. But the alien seemed to be unconscious, and was still walking this way. This guy must be a failed experiment, right? Zhang Feng looked at the bloated Titan variant in front of him, said with a bit of disgust, and then began to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Luo Shu complained, "Can you shut up? Let you count silently." Zhang Feng said, "I will forget to count silently." He continued to count very persistently. 5, 6, 7. Luo Shu didn't bother to pay attention to him, and took a closer look. The alien in front of him still looked like a human, but it was very big, and looked like a mountain titan. Well, a mountain titan with thick elephant skin. Luo Shu knew why Zhang Feng said it was a failure. Most of the alien species they saw were clever, with all kinds of traps, cooperation, culling, and handjobs. But this one seemed extremely clumsy, and it was a living target. It's the amazingly high defense power. The intestines flowed all over the ground. Isn't this dead? Luo Shu raised his gun and wanted to headshot him. But the seemingly demented titan shielded his face with both hands. The machine gun bullets smashed its hands, and the titan let out a muffled grunt. Zhang Feng said strangely, "Huh. Are you not stupid? You know you can hit your stomach but not your head." 12, 13, 14. Luo Shu was startled, thinking of the precise cooperation between the big frogman and another small alien just now. He realized the danger. Not stupid. Attracting our attention. Thinking of this, he didn't even have the time to look back. He just pushed Zhang Feng away, and jumped to the side. Sure enough, there was a black alien with a smooth body, quietly circled behind them, and rushed over. The two got out of the way ahead of time, and it just threw down the machine gun mount. Luo Shu didn't bother to see what it was, so he took a P-90 bullet and swept it over, smashing it. Zhang Feng was stunned. "Brother Luo. How do you know there is danger behind? You are such a genius. After speaking, he continued to count. 21, 22, 23. Luo Shu couldn't even catch his breath, and he didn't want to waste his breath in answering him. Turning his head and looking behind him, there are two other alien species staring at him. One has a cat face, and the other is the pangolin that just cooperated with the frogman. It lay on the ground, raised its head, and except for the dusty scales, it could only see a childlike face. Extraordinary. Luo Shu spat, a little tired. The life value is okay, and the physical value is only 50% left. Both aliens stared at Luo Shu, ignoring Zhang Feng. The cat-faced alien suddenly jumped to the side. Luo Shu instinctively followed, and then the small and exquisite armored alien slid over. Luo Shu shoots immediately. He made an advance shot. A dozen of the P-90 bullets were wasted, and the remaining dozen were hit. However, the shell of the armored alien is really extremely hard, and the bullets of the submachine gun only opened a small part, revealing pink tender meat, but not beaten to death. After the bullet was fired, the speed of the alien species did not decrease, and it circled around again, to the back of Luo Shu. Luo Shu turned around and threw a P-90 as a brick, but missed. The alien swiftly dodged, then stretched out its sharp front claws, and rushed forward screaming. After leaving the ground, this alien species covered in hard armor revealed its soft belly. Luo Shu fell to the ground and drew his knife. The handle of the knife hit the ground. Poof! The sharp tang knife penetrates it completely. It doesn't move. Zhang Feng rushed over, saw Luo Shu turn over, and said in a fright, "I'll go. You scared me to death. I thought you were dead." Luo Shu wiped his face and looked at the last cat-faced alien. It was bigger than the one it had killed before, and it had already assumed an offensive posture, releasing electric arcs crackling all over its body. Luo Shu pulled out the last spare pistol from the back waist, the knife in the left hand, the gun in the right hand, the good one, and prepared hard steel. 10%. The cat face has moved. It quickly made a few fake moves, and then quickly ran a lightning-like trend, and then it was about to descend Saint Luo Shu from the side. It was so fast that Luo Shu couldn't even turn around to keep up. At the same time, there was an ear-piercing friction sound. A silver-gray Audi A3 rushed over, just blocked the way and hit the cat-faced alien. It rolled over a dozen times and fell under the masonry corner of the fence. Just as it was about to get up, this Audi, which hadn't slowed down at all, just hit it. Boom! The blood of the cat-face alien sprayed several meters high like a fountain. Oh! Zhang Feng and Luo Shu held their heads together and yelled. Zhang Feng's expression was disgusted, and Luo Shu was so excited. The Audi car hit the airbag. Luo Shu walked over and opened the car door, and a messy-haired head poked out from inside. It was Vivian San. She looked a little dizzy. "R.O. Detective Luo. I haven't driven this car much since I bought it. Did I hit someone? I caused an accident. Just right, it went up to 50. Reinforcements have arrived." Behind the Audi, more than a dozen all-black Volkswagen commercial vehicles stopped steadily. 60 or 70 men in black suits jumped down from above, all holding various weapons, ranging from rifles, machine guns, to RPGs, and flamethrowers. They are all He Zhengu's people. Seeing the reinforcements, Luo Shu heaved a sigh of relief, and replied with a smile, "It's nothing, just killed a black household, it must not have an ID card." Vivian's face turned pale with fright. She couldn't hear Luo Shu's joke at all. She really didn't see clearly just now, it was too chaotic everywhere. Behind her, although those men in suits were real men from the club, they had never seen such a scene before, and they were a little scared. Not far away, a corpse that had been scorched by electric shock was thrown from the sky by a winged mutant, and fell heavily beside him, which startled Vivian again. She screamed and grabbed Luo Shu. "Detective Luo. Why is it so serious here? Shall we withdraw?" Seeing that the reinforcements had arrived, Luo Shu's heart was raised again. Back the fart. He took a rifle from a man in black, jumped on the hood, jumped on the roof, and fired into the air. Bang 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 bang. Bang 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 bang. Unfortunately, this time the shot just shot down the winged alien. Luo Shu didn't even look at the body of the bird man that fell into a pool, and shouted at the defeated deserters, "Reinforcements are here. I've already seen Ren Wei. There are not many monsters. They are here rout. They're fainting. They're running too. Strengthen the stronghold. Play dumb. The finals. Let's go together. Afterwards, Luo Shu brought reinforcements and cleaned up the remaining alien species first. While beating and shouting, he gathered all the policemen who were still alive. Get them all in the car. Then drive to the north of the hospital. Chase that dead bald head. It was strange to say that Luo Shu yelled so untechnically, and kept repeating, but yelling, the remaining spirit of the police seemed to be really yelled. Most of their captains have died in the line of duty. Maybe it's unwillingness, maybe it's anger, maybe it's because they don't want to escape alone. It's safer to be with this group of men in suits with heavy firepower. No matter what, the black and the white are all gathered together at this moment, temporarily obeying Luo Shu's command. There are more than a dozen black commercial vehicles, with countless gun barrels protruding from the windows. Along the way, any aliens who dare to approach will be smashed into a sieve. The tide of battle turned almost instantly. Luo Shu was sitting in the wrecked Audi car, and Vivian was driving, and he stuck his rifle out of the window, like a barbaric Boy Scout in Feijo, shooting towards the sky seemingly needlessly, wasting ammunition, shouting in his almost hoarse voice. Rush, rush. Chong Tae Niang. If you can rush, you will be Yang Lulong. Can't make it. You're dead. Death. Light. Light. After shouting, Luo Shu retracted, took a sip of water from Vivian's cup, and said in a low voice, Don't rush so fast, drive slowly, safety first, just let them rush. By the way, I fastened a seat belt for myself. The live broadcast room was already laughing like crazy. Are you crazy? Let the BIA NPC send it first, right? Spicy chicken. Encourage others to rush, and secretly fasten a seat belt. Don't pay attention, young man. Luo Shu stopped talking about martial arts again. Not to mention martial arts, Luo Shu has long since ceased to be a human being. I have always thought that Luo Shu is not afraid of death. Why is he afraid now? Psychopaths are like this, pathological contradictions. He faced a half-headed frogman just now, and he still has time to take pictures. Don't worry about whether Luo Shu is afraid of death or not. He just wants to find excitement. He is not afraid of death, but he doesn't want to die. If he dies, he won't be able to play at all. Neurological patients have broad thinking. Luo Shu, go to the hospital right away. Take your medicine quickly. No. Doesn't anyone think it's amazing? He gathered the defeated army. A dozen cars of policemen and fellow spirit boys fighting side by side wouldn't dare to make a movie like this. The convoy drove to the northernmost side of the hospital and reached the last building. Luo Shu suddenly remembered something, took Vivian's walkie-talkie, and said, The last 3 people, don't follow, go upstairs to find a shooting position and support from a high place. The last 3 cars stopped immediately. More than 20 people got off the 3 cars. Half of them were policemen and half of them were club boys. The elder brother of the police is relatively light-packed, while the younger brothers of the club are all carrying equipment. The younger brothers discussed and rushed up. Let's go to the rooftop. The old policeman hurriedly grabbed them. Puji is the one who goes to the rooftop. Have you watched too many bad movies about Housai? You die the fastest in the open air. The boys from the club are not stubborn this time. They are obedient, sir. Whatever you say, we will do. We will listen to you. In this group, the policeman has the technology, and the younger brother has the equipment, which complement each other perfectly. Vivian was puzzled. Why do we have to separate on purpose? Isn't this weakening our firepower? Luo Shu did not explain. The above can also support. Donglin Hospital only has a south gate, but no back gate. When the convoy bypassed the last building, it reached the northernmost iron fence wall. Luo Shu was very surprised to see the last few living aliens and the bald heads guarded by them. That should be Ren Wei. Unlike what he imagined, Ren Wei didn't wear a white coat, but a well-tailored high-end handmade suit with a goatee beard. He didn't look like he was a medical student, but more like a wretched artist. Luo Shu frowned. Why didn't he run away? The time just now was enough for him to leave. It can't be that he is afraid of jumping over the wall and getting stuck in the crotch, right? Luo Shu opened the car window and exchanged glances with Ren Wei. They looked at each other with a sense of fate. Luo Shu, dead fish eyes. Ren Wei, has flustered and wretched eyes. Luo Shu immediately understood. He made a mistake. The person he was waiting for was late. Luo Shu made a prompt decision, picked up an M416 that had just been brought in from the club, and aimed the red dot at Ren Wei. Bang 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 bang. The bullets poured out, but a big alien beside Ren Wei immediately blocked him, bearing all the output. Another, mountain titan, with rough skin and thick flesh. Get out of the car. Spread out. Luo Shu shouted, shoot. Annihilate. The team stopped instantly, and no one wasted time questioning Luo Shu's decision. Even if such a question flashed through everyone's mind. Isn't it dangerous to get off the car? Soon, after everyone got out of the car in a hurry, a few birdmen ambushed on the roof. They swooped down and easily tore off the roof with their sharp claws. Tear off tin is as easy as tearing toilet paper. These huge black birdmen also have the electric eel gene on their bodies, and the electric arc instantly enveloped these cars. What responded to them was a long fire dragon. Flamethrower. The burning bird screamed in pain, flapped its wings, and rushed straight into the sky. Then it broke its wings in a round of shooting. When it fell to the ground, it was riddled with holes. There was no suspense in the last close-range confrontation, but the aliens still relied on their fearless spirit and quick response to forcefully rush over and replace several human areas. Vivian saw that the victory was within her grasp. She wiped away the tears. She was frightened by the monster, and shouted, "Catch Ren Wei alive." "Mister," he confessed, "capture Ren alive." Luo Shu knocked her unconscious with an elbow, and said angrily, "What are you shouting for? If you are caught alive, you can't shout." Sure enough, some club boys hesitated because of this, for fear that the bullet would hit Ren Wei's bald head. As a result, because of such hesitation, he was instantly torn to pieces by the alien species. Beside Ren Wei, there is the last 3-meter-tall strong frogman. It lowered its head and told Ren Wei that it was very busy. Ren Wei nodded quickly. Then this strong frogman hugged the petite Ren Wei in his arms, turned his back to everyone, bent his knees and jumped vigorously. At that jump, Luo Shu looked up in astonishment, and saw the bright moon in the sky. Saw the possibility of mission failure. He rushed forward, with a sliding shovel, dodged an attack of a foreign species, and picked up a handful of high-tech RPGs from the hands of 10 club members. It's actually a FIM-92, Stinger anti-aircraft missile. It's normal for military blind Luo Shu not to know this kind of high-end goods. Luo Shu didn't know how to use it at all, he only knew that Ren Wei couldn't run away. So he picked it up, aimed at the strong frogman in midair, and pressed the launch button. Fortunately, Stinger is very easy to use, fool-like operation. The heat source is locked. The missile erupts with tail flames and soars into the sky. The frogman just hit the ground when the Stinger missile went up to the sky. Luo Shu's eyes lost their brightness. "Ah. Did you pay by mistake after all?" And not missed. The missile made a mischievous turn in the air, swung a beautiful arc, and then chased it vertically downwards. Luo Shu narrowed his eyes and finally understood. Hot pursuit. This doesn't seem like an RPG. After the frogman landed, he also realized that there was a missile chasing after him. No matter how fast he reacted, he could only use his own jumping ability to pounce behind an old tree with gnarled roots. Ren Wei in his arms naturally threw his hands out. The speed of the missile is extremely fast, and in this case, there is no way to avoid obstacles. Boom! The director exploded. The flame spreads. Shock waves sway. This little piece of woods was seedling, and the trees crackled and snapped in the explosion, burning. That frogman. Can't say death, simply say death, no respect for Stinger missiles. The frogman is gone. Fried to pieces. And it's baked. The bald-headed Ren Wei was affected by the explosion, fell a few times, and seemed to pass out. Luo Shu rushed forward excitedly, grabbing the iron fence with both hands, as if trying to squeeze his face. "Aren't you dead? Are you not dead?" When he saw Ren Wei's leg move, he couldn't help but be overjoyed. "Ha! He's not dead. The bald head is lucky to die." It's an unexpected joy. Of course Luo Shu didn't want Ren Wei to be blown to death. As the core figure in this script world, Luo Shu had a lot to ask him. The few remaining alien species have all been wiped out at this moment. The surviving policemen hated these monsters so much that they cremated them on the spot with flamethrowers. Luo Shu looked at the fainting Ren Wei outside, and beckoned, "Come on, help me open the way." Several club boys ran over quickly. They looked at the iron fence in front of them and raised their rifles stupidly. A police officer couldn't see it, and came over. Don't you have $4 dynamite? Give me one. A certain boy took out a square and square portable C4 bomb. The police officer took it, stretched it out from the middle of the iron fence, and fixed it on the stone brick base below. Let's spread out, spread out. After a while. A bang. A big hole exploded in the hospital wall. Luo Shu took the lead and walked over, and gave the police officer a thumbs up. By the way, professional. Then he led his younger brothers out in a file. If he hadn't been wearing a white coat, he would look like the boss of a society now. Luo Shu squatted next to the fainted Ren Wei, and casually slapped him loudly across the ears. Ren Wei woke up leisurely. When he regained his consciousness and saw Luo Shu with a friendly smile on his face, he immediately reacted, and wanted to run even when he was crawling. Zhang Feng was holding a machine gun, the black muzzle pointed at his head. Ren Wei smiled and raised his hands in surrender. Don't do this. Calm down. Keep your guns away from people. It's easy to go off. He turned around and hit Luo Shu's muzzle with his smooth forehead. Luo Shu stared at his head with a pistol, and asked with a smile, Ren Wei. Ren Wei's face trembled, and he smiled wryly, it's me. You? Luo Shu pressed his hands hard. I ask you to answer. If you lie, I will shoot, understand? Ren Wei is ambitious and timid, and has never been threatened by anyone directly with a gun, so he nodded repeatedly, understand. Understood. Luo Shu suppressed his smile, and asked seriously, tell me about your favorite Niu Ben's female star. All the policemen and younger brothers all looked at Luo Shu in unison. Complicated eyes. Zhang Feng couldn't help but ask, Brother Luo, what kind of nonsense are you talking about? Luo Shu ignored them, just stared at Ren Wei and raised his eyebrows. Ren Wei's heart trembled, and he said casually, Nagasawa Masami. Luo Shu looked at Zhang Feng with a questioning look. Only then did Zhang Feng understand, and based on the judgment made by the hearing aid, he shook his head, he's lying. Ren Wei was shocked. Why do you call me? Without further ado, Luo Shu shot him in the thigh. Boom. Ren Wei was in the room, and then screamed and fell to the ground, until he almost fainted again. Luo Shu's face was expressionless, and his expression and posture were like a bloody asura. Ask me again, who is the female star of Niu Ben's that you like? Ren Wei said in agony. 3. Mikami Yuya. Luo Shu's expression loosened, and he smiled again. Hey, that's right. Then he met the eyes of the surrounding policemen and younger brothers, and explained, it's just a small benchmark test. The little brothers can't understand, but the police can barely understand. To put it bluntly, what kind of benchmark test is he doing? It's just a way to make Ren Wei dare not lie anymore and improve the efficiency of interrogation. A police officer said, let's take it away and ask, not here. Luo Shu shook his head. I must hurry up, lest things change in the long run. No one knows what will happen during the period of bringing him back to the police station, but now that the person talking is Luo Shu, they don't say much. Especially in the face of such a crazy person, God knows who he will aim his gun at next second. Just don't mess with him. Luo Shu officially started asking, where is Yushi? What's her situation now? Ren Wei hugged his thigh, endured the severe pain, and said, she's still inside. Luo Shu, inside what? Inside the building. Ren Wei, yes, in the building. She may have died. Luo Shu, say it clearly. A trace of fear and disgust appeared on Ren Wei's already distorted face due to the pain. Yushi is a freak. She forced me. Let me transform her. She wants to be the perfect creature. Luo Shu, the last perfect ultimate creature has been frozen into a lump of ice in the universe, a tribute to cats. Luo Shu complained. Why do idiots always dream of such a big dream, and then what? Then, Ren Wei was about to continue, when the walkie-talkie that Luo Shu took from Vivian just now rang. Inside was the voice of a left-behind police officer. We are on the 8th floor of Block F. We saw 8 light trucks without license plates coming in. They are not our people. There is also the voice of the club boy over there. It's not our people. Hey, they got off the car. Luo Shu felt bad. It's still here. Those people Ren Wei was waiting for. In this battle, those people who should appear, but did not appear. In the next second, there were loud gunshots from both the machine and the outside. It's a mercenary. They're a bunch of mercenaries. They took the initiative to attack us. We had a firefight. They are very strong. We can't last long. Hearing this, someone laughed out loud. Ren Wei. This dead bald man with obscene looks and beard giggled, and squinted at Luo Shu. Do you know why I didn't run away just now? Because my people are coming soon. Now that they are here, you are finished. At this moment, the people on Luo Shu's side also panicked. Zhang Feng said anxiously, what should we do? Let's run. Those policemen and community boys, let's go back and support. Luo Shu didn't speak, but turned to look in the direction of the gunshots. He left 3 cars behind and guarded at a high place. In fact, he bought an insurance for the current situation. Who knows, the worst guess still happened. Luo Shu sighed. I still have a lot of questions, it seems it's too late to ask. Ren Wei gritted his teeth, sat up, and squinted arrogantly at Luo Shu. I don't think you look like a policeman, I'll give you a chance to survive, as long as you. Boom, Luo Shu didn't even look back, and shot off Ren Wei's skull. Still murmuring, light trucks, 8 mercenaries. Can you fight, can you escape? This shot obviously scared everyone. They were all dumbfounded. Ren Wei fell backwards, lying in a pool of blood, with a haughty smile froze on his face that everything was under control. Do not rest in peace. Zhang Feng almost stared out his eyes, and the others around him were not much better. Each of them knows the importance of Ren Wei. Such a big event, so many monsters and policemen died, Ren Wei is the absolute core key figure. Just die like that. After a while, Luo Shu seemed to have figured it out, turned around, and looked at Ren Wei's death with a look of disgust. Then Luo Shu asked the people around him, doesn't he know I have a gun? Has he always been so brave? Who gave him the courage to threaten me? Liang Jinru. After that, he fired a few more shots. Zhang Feng couldn't believe what he saw. The key person is gone just like that. Just because it doesn't sound good. It made Luo Shu unhappy. He murmured and shook his head. A madman, a complete madman. On the other side, inside the hospital, gunshots had already spread over 10. Because of the particularity of the abnormal source code, the more things that can arouse the negative emotions of ordinary people, the more excited Luo Shu will be. In horror games, because there are more similar scenes, Luo Shu's performance is more obvious. The higher the SAN value, the more Luo Shu will tend to a kind of rational madness. Luo Shu killed Ren Wei, a key figure, with 1 shot, of course not just for fun. During the time he was muttering to himself just now, tens of thousands of clips have flashed through Luo Shu's thinking universe, and he has almost completed the entire movie. If you unload the thinking process, maybe you can get an A4 sheet of paper. Ren Wei, he didn't want to kill, but had to. Luo Shu patted Zhang Feng on the shoulder and comforted him. It's okay, trust me, this guy is worth more dead than alive. Then he squatted down and carefully groped for Ren Wei's body. Nothing but a cell phone. Tips pop up from the item bar. Name, a smartphone with a wide range of uses. Type, drama-related. Function, control all smart devices in the base. Whether the script can be brought out. Number. Remarks, guess, what is the password of the mobile phone? Only 3 times the phone, 567, will be hungry. Luo Shu tapped on the phone screen, and sure enough, an interface for entering the password appeared. He frowned. The gunshots came closer, and there were ferocious shouts of mercenaries, all in English. Zhang Feng said anxiously, they are coming, what should we do now? Go, or run. Luo Shu was also a little anxious, with beads of sweat on his forehead. Race against time, he asked quickly. How long is the backup? There was such a big incident in Donglin Hospital, even 1 helicopter crashed, so the police forces on the whole Hong Kong island were naturally transferred here. A blood-stained police officer confirmed it through the walkie-talkie and said, the nearest police force will arrive in 10 minutes. Luo Shu looked at the club boys again. The club boys looked at each other, and one of them boldly said, we don't know, the person in charge was knocked out by you. Then he pointed to the hospital fence. Vivian fainted peacefully. Luo Shu bowed his head and said, everyone go to support the brothers upstairs, the reinforcements will arrive soon, I will call He Zhenggu again. No matter who this group of people are, they are more anxious than us, because they want the people to be rescued or already dead, and as long as they delay for a while, they will be like a turtle in a urn. What Luo Shu said was also true. That group of mercenaries. Why were they late? They probably had already ambushed nearby, just deliberately waiting for the police and community members to consume each other with the alien species, trying to rescue Ren Wei with as many casualties as possible. Then, the only time they can grab is 10 minutes. Mercenaries are lonely and brave on Hong Kong Island, while the police and community members are endless. Lies in these 10 minutes, maybe everyone will die. Luo Shu didn't want to take this risk, he was going to the safest place at the moment. The clone base in Block E. Okay, let's go and kill them now. The club boy raised his rifle, full of bravery. The policeman also nodded. Okay, let's buy time. Luo Shu added. The police officers are in charge of directing, the brothers in the community will forgive me. The boys in the club are very good at talking, it should be. At this time, an old smoky voice came from the hospital, I found them. In the direction of 12 o'clock. Inside the woods. They suddenly turned around and saw the speaker. It was, downstairs, a bearded mercenary walking against the wall. When he saw someone, he turned around and ran away. The thief is so cunning. A surviving member of the Flying Tigers quickly picked up a sniper rifle and clicked it twice. I saw a coquettish blood flower suddenly blooming on the snow-white outer wall of the hospital building. The bearded mercenary's head was split open, his body went limp, and he fell to the ground, dying silently. The police and club boys gathered, then dispersed, and ran back to the hospital in groups of 2 and 2 through the blast hole. Luo Shu turned on the phone again, and there was fingerprint unlocking besides the password. He directly tried it with the dead man Ren Wei's thumb and untied it. That remark is purely confusing. If you really spend time guessing the password, maybe it will be folded here. Zhang Feng also understood Luo Shu at this moment, and patiently did not urge him. Since he values this phone so much, it must be useful. He set up his machine gun and covered Luo Shu beside him. At the other end, another light truck drove over. Several mercenaries hid behind the car and approached slowly. Zhang Feng just saw it from this angle, and he started shooting. The recoil shook the muscles of his arms, making Zhang Feng look extremely mighty and majestic at the moment. But none were hit. Fortunately, he covered his teammates going upstairs. Luo Shu turned on his phone and found an app named Eden among a bunch of apps. 80% did not run away. The clone base is the Garden of Eden, and Ren Wei regards himself as the god who creates new humans. Luo Shu resolutely put on his mobile phone, drew his knife, and chopped off Ren Wei's entire right hand. This tang knife is of rare quality, it is extremely sharp, and it cuts bones like mud. Zhang Feng just finished hitting a bullet chain when he turned his head to see Luo Shu's behavior. The entire face turned into a violent face in shock. Brother Luo, why are you so cruel? He is already dead. Luo Shu casually put this right hand in the pocket of his white coat, and then ran forward with his head down. This posture is not easy to be hit by stray bullets. His phone, fingerprint unlock. Zhang Feng raised his gun, imitated the strange posture, and ran with him. Then why don't you cut off your finger? Luo Shu, we're going to enter the clone base. What if the whole hand is needed inside? If it's not time-consuming. I want to take off the eyeballs too. Live barrage. When will you consider playing a horror game? It is specially prepared for Luo Shu. It's cruel to study medicine. I'm also a medical student. Don't attack from a range, only those who study clinical practice are cruel. I'm a clinical student, I swear, I'm not as cruel as senior brother Luo. I have performed hundreds of surgeries, I swear, we won't try to take someone's eyeball off every now and then. The same doctor, we are for work, Luo Shu may be for interest. Zhang Feng also felt chills when he heard it. Then he was afraid and puzzled. Shall we go in now? Luo Shu walked to the edge of the blasted doorway, paused for a while, and walked again. There was no blind spot in front of him, and he might be shot. The most dangerous place is the safest place. I don't know who will win now, but I know that as long as we find a safe place to hide for a while, we will definitely win. Zhang Feng thought about it, and it seems to be such a reason. Vivian woke up slowly, She rubbed her eyes. Huh. Why did I fall asleep? Luo Shu hurriedly pulled her back. In the melee just now, Zhang Feng accidentally hit your head with the butt of a gun, and you fainted. Zhang Feng pointed at himself, his face full of grievances. Luo Shu looked at him with a smile on his face. Zhang Feng swallowed. Yes, it's me, I'm sorry. Vivian heard the messy gunshots in the hospital, and her expression changed again. What's the situation now? Is it a monster? Luo Shu didn't bother to explain to her, and pointed to the back hillside. I give you a suggestion for survival. Go up, dig a hole, bury yourself, cover your head with some leaves, and come out after 15 minutes. Vivian ran over obediently. Zhang Feng suddenly frowned, and footsteps sounded from the hearing aid. Someone's coming. 6. Luo Shu was a little confused. They were going to the Yinsheng building in Block E, so they had to run to Block F first, and then rushed to Block E under the cover of the building. There may be a lot of mercenaries inside. And from here to Block F, there is a certain distance, and this distance is likely to be sniped. Luo Shu asked Zhang Feng to carry Ren Wei's body. The two grabbed Ren Wei's body and stretched out his dead head by a layer. As if spying on something. The sound of sniping. Ren Wei's head exploded completely. Throwing his body back, the two looked at each other. How to do? The sound of footsteps is getting closer. Neither Luo Shu nor Zhang Feng thought that they were of a half-baked level and could face off against 6 professionally trained mercenaries. Look at his marksmanship, his consciousness. Zhang Feng touched the hearing aid. There are still 100 meters. Luo Shu slapped his thigh. I can only run. Take cover. Zhang Feng turned his head and looked around. How about I carry his body and use it as a meat shield? Hearing this, Luo Shu's eyes suddenly lit up. Why use a meat shield? He took out the shiny silver flying surfboard from the equipment bar. We have metal shields. Come on, let's take a look at the notes of the flying surfboard. Name, flying surfboard. Remarks, charge for 6 hours and use for half a minute. As a useless good product produced by Yadidi Future Toys Company, this thing can only be said, the alloy strength is not bad. Quality. And rarity too. In this way, Luo Shu gave Zhang Feng a heavy magnetic shoe, put it on his hand, and then sucked the huge flying surfboard. Stand by your side and rush out. The moment they rushed out, countless rifle bullets were poured over like money. These bullets come from the same direction. A mercenary team of 6 who is about to touch it. They groped over the gutter on the west outer wall of Block F, and when they saw someone trying to rush out with a broken metal plate, they smiled contemptuously. Hey, stupid. Without an order from the leader, they all started shooting together. Bullets like a torrential rain instantly submerged the flying surfboard of 10 small solitary boats. In an instant, hundreds of bullets hit the body of the flying surfboard. From the perspective of the mercenaries, this moving metal plate is about to be pierced in seconds. The bullets sparked countless sparks on the metal plate. Such a thin metal plate, no matter what material it is, cannot withstand a rifle penetration of bullets. 2. It is beware. The eyeballs of these 6 mercenaries almost popped out. What theft? Don't say they were shocked. Luo Shu himself was shocked. The moment they bent down and rushed out with the heavy magnetic shoes sucking the surfboard, Luo Shu determined the real way to use the surfboard. What kind of alloy is this? It can't be a vibrating gold shield. Feeling the weak force transmitted from the shield, Luo Shu said pleasantly. The 18 penetration force of the rifle bullet is far stronger than that shown in the movies and TV dramas. As a qualified sophomore medical student, Luo Shu is also familiar with the lethality of various weapons. Take the most common 5.56 mm bullet as an example. The muzzle velocity usually exceeds 900 meters per second. The power of the bullet is about 1700 joules. The maximum range is 1.6 kilometers, and it can still penetrate 3 to 4 m thick steel plates at a distance of 500 to 600 meters. The distance between them is outrageously close. Only a mere 100 meters away. Such a dense bullet attack should have been matched long ago. But now, let alone piercing, even the stagnation force of the bullets seems to have been weakened by 90%. They can run steadily. So Luo Shu has reason to suspect that the alloy used to make flying surfboards wouldn't be mixed with the legendary vibrating gold. In the hail of bullets, he secretly glanced at the battery indicator. Well, there is no increase. It seems that it is not vibration gold, but the kinetic energy of the bullet is properly weakened. Zhang Feng lowered his head and shouted, "Where are you going?" Luo Shu shouted, "Go to the left." This scene looks especially ridiculous now because the surfboards aren't big enough to cover them all, so they're all squatting and running very slowly. But it happened that he was running so slowly, and he ran over with sparks and lightning all the way, unscathed. Moreover, the two originally wanted to run from the woods in the back mountain to Building F, but there were 6 mercenaries on the west wall of Building F, so they adjusted their direction and ran to the east of Building F. The mercenaries were about to vomit blood, and the leader shouted, "Give me a grenade." At such a short distance, bullets cannot penetrate, but grenades can be thrown accurately. "Come on, here you are." He reached out and took the grenade, but immediately felt wrong. The sound seemed to come from above. He quickly looked up. Parabolic. 3 police grenades. Boon. They stayed in place and shot for too long, exposing their positions, and were killed by the naughty club boys upstairs. Luo Shu heard the movement and guessed the situation. "I arranged for people to go upstairs in advance, isn't it great?" Zhang Feng nodded fiercely. "Brother Luo, you are a genius. My level is 2 levels higher than yours. I have experienced so many script worlds, and you are the one who has guided me most thoroughly. I will listen to you." Luo Shu. "Okay, adjust the direction, raise the shield and block it above your head. Then, accelerate and run towards Block E. They have now reached the east side of Block F, and Block E is directly ahead. Just rush over, it only takes 10 seconds. But at this moment, there are already many mercenaries guarding the upper floor of Block E. They smashed the windows, drew the curtains, stretched out gun barrels, and kept an eye on the movement of the opposite Block F and downstairs. Has a very dense calendar." Luo Shu hid behind Zhang Feng, and the two rushed forward with the surfboard on their shoulders. He shouted, "Brothers in Block F. You are not dead. Fire support. I'm going home." Upstairs in Block F, there are many undead police officers and club boys. They use similar methods, draw the curtains, constantly adjust their positions, observe the opposite side, and there will be a firefight from time to time. They saw that running surfboard downstairs. They were all dumbfounded. What are the 2 of them rushing over for? Are they courting death? A police officer yells, "Fire support." Intensive gunshots sounded, and occasionally 1 or 2 RPG rockets flew past. The opposite side is similar, originally wanted to greet that surfboard, but now can only deal with counterattack. Boom, boom, boom. After this wave of fighting, the demolition work of the 2 buildings is almost on par. Because of the strong fire support from their teammates, Luo Shu and the 2 rushed to the downstairs of Building E, and then Fanyu entered from the back door of Yinsheng Building. Zhang Feng let go of the surfboard, returned the heavy magnetic shoes to Luo Shu, and held his machine gun tightly. He looked inside Yinsheng Building, where there was a mess after the explosion, and there were several police officers' bodies. "Isn't it too dangerous for us to rush in? There are all their people on it, and they are probably going to come down soon. We have to find them now." The clone base. Zhang Feng was clever for a while, and he had an idea. The clone base. It must be underground. Let's go to the elevator." He rushed over, opened the elevator, and found that the lowest place here was the first floor, and he was immediately dumbfounded that there was no B1 B2. Then another brainstorm. Yes, how can the secret base be directly reached by public elevators? Safe passage. There must be a way down. Then he rushed to the stairwell in a hurry, and before he could go in, he was dragged back by Luo Shu. "Think with your brain." Luo Shu pulled him and ran forward. Among those alien species, the largest one is 4 meters high and 3 meters wide. Is such a small safe passage and elevator suitable? A passage suitable for their size may be possible in the building. There's only one place. They rushed into an open space. Luo Shu slowed down. It's the reception hall. In the hall, it was truly devastated. This is clearly the heart of the previous explosion and subsequent firefight. There are at least 20 police officers' corpses on the ground, and most of them are mutilated and shapeless, and there are many alien species that were smashed. The smell of gunpowder smoke and blood is everywhere, and the tea liquid of some alien species after being smashed gives off a stench, even a little spicy to the eyes. Ouch! Zhang Feng vomited in disappointment. Luo Shu dragged away several corpses with tears in his eyes. Don't vomit. Come and help. Find the entrance before they come down. Otherwise, we will be beaten for this virtue right away. Zhang Feng vomited and came over to help drag the corpse, adding a fresh nausea to the already disgusting scene. The mercenaries knew that they had entered, so they didn't dare to take the elevator, so they sent 2 teams to quickly get down from the safe passages on both sides. Go go go. Try to capture them alive. We need to confirm with them whether Ren Wei is still alive. They've reached the 3rd floor. A small open space was cleared in the middle, and Zhang Feng was tired and vomited. I couldn't see any secret tunnel. Luo Shu couldn't tell, but he knew that it would be too late to continue cleaning. He took out Ren Wei's hand and unlocked the phone. Open the Eden app. There are a lot of control panels on it, too late to take a closer look, but the first one is the entrance. Luo Shu stood in the middle of the lobby. Zhang Feng was close to him, and then he pressed the start button on the phone. The ground trembled. Move, move, move. Zhang Feng said excitedly. At the same time, more than a dozen mercenaries also rushed out in the safe passage on both sides. There they are. Where Luo Shu was standing, the entire ground began to drop. It turns out that there is a large square area in the hall, all of which are lifting platforms. The first reaction of the mercenaries was to shoot, but they saw that Luo Shu conjured a surfboard out of thin air. Standing in front of 6 as a shield. Blocked all the bullets. The leading mercenary captain wrinkled his facial features in confusion. Who the hell can tell me, where did he take out this broken board? Is it in his crotch? The lifting platform went down quickly, and a large area of the hall was instantly submerged. Each of them knew the entrance, they just didn't have the remote control in their hands. The captain yelled, "Don't go there and die. Throw a grenade." Luo Shu and the 2 went down with a lot of dead bodies that they hadn't had time to clear away, and found that the inside was completely different from what they had imagined. Another bright and clean lobby. The large screen behind the front desk automatically lights up when someone enters. A melodious female voice sounded, "Welcome to Cambrian creatures." This time, the reactions of the 2 were surprisingly consistent. They saw a bunker, which was the reception desk of this underground hall. The 2 jumped down from the lifting platform, jumped over together, and shrank at the bottom of the platform. The grenade dropped from above exploded. Intense light and heat waves. Roasting every part of the underground hall. But the 2 of them hid under the marble front desk, with their backs facing the explosion point. Except for the shock to their eardrums, they were not injured at all. The screen was scratched by the fragments of the grenade, but it did not affect the mechanical sound set by the computer and continued to read. The pharmaceutical company is visiting, here we will show the latest frontier of organ transplantation. Quote. After the lifting platform touches the bottom, it will automatically start to rise again. The mercenary captain above hesitated for a moment. Jump down 3 and kill them all. The 3 brave veterans waited for the lifting platform to reach a suitable position, and then jumped down directly. After jumping to the lifting platform, the 3 combat-experienced men fought back to back, raising their guns to be vigilant in 3 different directions. Didn't see anyone. At the first moment, they aimed at the 2 closed metal doors and the front desk where people could hide. With such a small space, they dare not use any throwing weapons. After a moment of hesitation, they saw the surfboard appear above the front desk again. It's right there. They jumped down from the lifting platform again, and someone had already pulled out their sabers, ready to fight hand to hand. Luo Shu doesn't want to go head to head, they are professionals. So he slapped the surfboard control patch on his temple and went straight to the action. There are also 3 electric flying surfboards. Under the control of Luo Shu's consciousness, they rushed out of the hospital instantly. The 3 mercenaries were startled, and dodged to the sides, and the gunshots rang out. Superior, Luo Shu roared. He and Zhang Feng rushed out from both sides of the front desk. Zhang Feng was holding an M60 machine gun, and his whole body was trembling with fat. Axie. Give me a hard time. Luo Shu has 2 P90s left and right, low recoil and strafing. In an instant, the 3 mercenaries who were distracted burst into bloody flowers all over their bodies. At this time, the lifting platform has returned to the top, and the passage is completely closed. Make sure they are all dead and no other enemies are coming down. Only then did the 2 breathe a sigh of relief, leaning back to back, sweating profusely, almost smoking hot. You. How much stamina do you have? Luo Shu asked, panting. There's still 25%. Zhang Feng replied, panting. Luo Shu looked back at him unhappily. I only have 19% left, why do you have so many? You should be more tired than me when you fight machine guns. Zhang Feng opened his mouth and smiled honestly, I'm level 4. Your stamina and physical strength must be much stronger than yours. Luo Shu patted his fat face, and had no energy to speak. I'm so tired. Fu, much more tired than a real CS. The two stopped in place and rested for a while. Luo Shu went to the corpse of the mercenary and searched for it. He threw away his P-90 submachine gun, with almost no ammunition left, and then replaced it with a mercenary's Taver 21 rifle, a microcharger, a pistol, and a saber. And a pack of cigarettes and chocolates was found. Zhang Feng also followed suit and changed his equipment. Luo Shu said, after licking the bag, take the chocolate and replenish your energy, the big boss Hiyushi must be inside. Maybe it will be the last tough battle. Zhang Feng was stunned, after licking the bag. After thinking for a while, he understood, licking the bag. Ha 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 ha, Brother Luo, you are so humorous. Ha 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 ha, Brother Luo, you also play chicken. Ha 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 ha. Luo Shu looked at this middle-aged man with a strange smile on his face expressionlessly. Zhang Feng stopped knowingly and ate chocolate silently. 3R #jaw. Luo Shu is very sure that this is where the final battle will take place. He stood up and walked around the underground hall. The LED screen was flickering, and a video similar to a promotional video of a pharmaceutical company was playing. On the screen, many experimenters in protective clothing were doing something, and then the camera filmed the movements of their hands. Cambrian Biomedicine, with a professional scientific research team of 500 people, has cultivated dozens of human organs that can be used for human transplantation. On the screen, after the professional ability was advertised, a warm short film began to play. Similar to the fact that grandpa and grandma were terminally ill, there was no cure, and organ transplantation through formal channels was difficult to arrange. Just like this, the old man who was obviously rich died. Next, the bald Ren Wei appeared, reciting the slogan to the camera. Don't let the tragedy happen again. As long as you back up your cell tissue and Cambrian company in advance, we will be able to grow enough spare organs. We will completely break the upper limit of lifespan for you. Zhang Feng frowned and watched. To be honest, I was tempted to hear it. Luo Shu patted him on the shoulder. Who isn't? He knew that Ren Wei was not completely lying. If the best medical technology can be used to continuously replace human organs, the lifespan of human beings is indeed likely to break through the limit by a large margin. Only, what is the price? Luo Shu looked around. Except for the front and rear doors, there was an open rest area next to it, and there were many group photos of Ren Wei and others hanging on the wall. He walked over to have a look. The first photo shows two bald heads, one of them is Ren Wei who is smiling, and the other. Luo Shu looks familiar. Looks like he was once the richest man in the world. The creator of Yamahun. Interesting. Luo Shu looked at other photos. Although it may be a parallel world, there are indeed many famous people he can recognize. Big businessmen Qian Zhao's have Bei Suoci, Li Jiakong, Ma Sike and others. The stars of Haolaiwu include Julie, Tensionlong, Kechi. There are many others that Luo Shu doesn't know. Zhang Feng clicked his tongue in amazement. Wow, so many big bosses come to do this kind of thing. It's normal, Luo Shu said. The richer they are, the more they are afraid of death. They would rather sacrifice part of their privacy and safety, and leave their own cells and tissues as organ backups. Okay, don't waste time, let's go in. Luo Shu took out Ren Wei's hand again and turned on the phone. It is not clear what is written on this app. Behind the entrance, there are door 1, door 2, door 3 at the back, door. God knows which leads to where. Luo Shu remembered the hint after unlocking the world view earlier, and used it. It was dark in front of my eyes, with only one spot of light. Behind the wall on the left, there is still a long way to go. Since this prop is not in the hall, then, just open any door. Luo Shu opens the door 1. With a soft bang, the metal door on the right side of the front desk opened to the left and right. The door opened, and the two walked in cautiously. Naturally, Zhang Feng still took the lead. He also has the self-awareness of being a flesh. Zhang Feng already knew very well in his heart that the world of this script was quite difficult, and if he wanted to survive, he had to protect Luo Shu, who was in charge of output. Well, it's also intellectually responsible. Maybe it's still the face value. The more Zhang Feng thought about it, the more angry he became. Did I come to the world to make up the numbers? Luo Shu suddenly patted him and said, I want to open up. Zhang Feng was completely frightened. You can read minds. Luo Shu narrowed his eyes, pouted his lips vigorously, and made a carrot expression. You just had this expression, was it difficult to understand? Zhang Feng was speechless for a moment. Luo Shu observed the surroundings with a blank expression. Is there something unpleasant you think of? Say it, let the brothers be happy, and relieve the tense atmosphere. Zhang Feng. The reason they both were so relaxed was because there was clearly no danger behind the door. This is a large room similar to an exhibition hall, decorated with a sense of art, and the exhibition cabinets in the middle are connected together to form an S shape. Luo Shu walked over to look inside the showcase. On the surface of the glass cabinet, information such as temperature and humidity are displayed. Obviously, this is a sealed space with constant temperature and humidity. He is very familiar with the things in the showcase. Into the eyes is a pair of human lungs. These lungs seem to be growing in a petri dish, soaked in transparent liquid, pink and tender. The most extreme thing is that these lungs are alive, breathing. Zhang Feng can't see this. He can accept the human body smashed by bullets now, but he can't see a complete lung, breathing without the body. I seem to be throwing up again. Zhang Feng couldn't help but said. Luo Shu said, swallow it. Zhang Feng covered his mouth. Luo Shu walked along the S-shaped showcase. The display cabinets here are divided into clear divisions. Right now, this area is the viscera area, with breathing lungs, lively beating heart, peristaltic stomach, etc. Going to the back, there are separate hands and feet. There's even a grooming area. Zhang Feng really swallowed it, and then frowned tightly. What's the use of this thing? What he was looking at was a stretched sheet of skin tissue, almost transparent. Luo Shu said, skin grafting. Zhang Feng felt that this could be tolerated, and then walked towards the reproductive area curiously. Can that thing be transplanted? Luo Shu drew out the knife. I can try it. I will also do surgery in the future. Zhang Feng was so frightened that he stopped in his tracks, and waved his hands again and again. Don't. I'm quite satisfied with myself. Luo Shu drew his saber, but smashed it down with the hilt. With a bang, the glass shattered. He then picked up a piece of liver and felt the texture. It's true. Zhang Feng said in surprise, really? Doesn't that mean that he can really clone human organs? The so-called planting organs can really be realized? Luo Shu looked at the edge of the liver. No, these exhibits are just part of his lies. The arteries and vessels on the liver have obvious cutting marks. These bits and pieces are all taken from living bodies. Luo Shu looked at him with dark eyes. This means that Renwei killed many clones in order to fill this exhibition hall. Zhang Feng said angrily, you are insane. Well, insane. Luo Shu said, obviously, this place exists as an underground reception area. The Cambrian biopharmaceutical company cannot conduct these businesses on the bright side, so they are all placed in the underground base of Donglin Hospital. Many rich and famous people from all over the world have been received here. Of course, what they say to them is very simple. Ren Wei will definitely say that he has mastered the technology of organ cloning. He only needs a little cell tissue from those people, and he can be here. Create huge warehouses of organs to spare for them. This exhibition area is to take off the organs of the cloned people, connect them to plastic tubes, fill them with nutrient solution, and show them to the rich as clean cloned organs. For those wealthy people, this is a good thing with no harm. At best it is illegal. In the face of the benefits of longevity and health, they don't care about the laws of Hong Kong Island. In fact, even if they did know, a clone of them would be killed in order to provide them with a fresh organ. I don't think they really care. Luo Shu threw down the piece of liver that would soon deteriorate after being separated from the nutrient solution, and then opened the next door. Black BIFD, dark and narrow corridor, quiet and cramped, nothing. Zhang Feng frowned and said, there must be a problem here, there must be an agency. Luo Shu casually threw in the pack of cigarettes he had just picked up. Do you still need to say? The dense lasers are instantly connected into a grid. The green light in the eyes makes Zhang Feng's face green. The packs, including the cigarettes inside, are laser cut into pieces. Hey, the classic level of Resident Evil, Luo Shu said happily. Fortunately, his mobile phone was found in advance. It says, Channel 1. Luo Shu directly clicked close on the phone. The miserable green laser light in the tunnel disappeared instantly. Zhang Feng took off his shoes and nervously threw them into test. Fine. They just walked over. Another door opened. They walked into a huge space, as big as a school playground. Wow, Zhang Feng sighed, what a big gym. The oval square has distinct functional divisions. There is an aerobic area with dozens of treadmills and spinning bikes, and an anaerobic area full of equipment of various sizes and dumbbells, as well as a swimming pool and bathrooms. At first glance, it looks like a super large integrated gym. Luo Shu looked up at the sky. There is a whole curved oval screen above the head, and the video material played is a beautiful starry sky and a full moon hanging high. Luo Shu looked down at the phone. There was a button for Man-Made Sky Management on it. He chose Day Noon. The starry sky dissipated in an instant, and the dazzling sun appeared in the dome. The sun shone wantonly. The venue was instantly lit up. The temperature also rises accordingly. Luo Shu murmured, is this how they bask in the sun? There must be enough artificial ultraviolet rays in the light. It's high-tech, and the light is enough. Zhang Feng also stroked his chin. These clones feel like they are living well. Luo Shu said, then you can live in too. Zhang Feng laughed. Just kidding, just kidding. No matter how good the breeding farm is, people don't want to be raised and slaughtered. Luo Shu opened the hint for hidden props and looked again. The light was still inside, not here. There are 2 doors in the venue. Luo Shu chooses to open one of them, door 3. The door opens and enters. It was another long and narrow corridor, but on both sides were rooms with closed doors, and the doors were iron doors without windows. Luo Shu pressed the handle, but it couldn't be turned. He knocked tentatively on the door. Is anyone there? No one responded, but Luo Shu clearly heard that there were all kinds of movements inside. He said again, open the door, me. Fuchuan takeaway. We are in a hurry. There was no movement again. Luo Shu was also annoyed. If you don't open the door, will I kick the door? Then he gave Zhang Feng a wink. Zhang Feng is fat, and strong is also strong. He responded, trotted 2 steps, flew up and kicked up. Open it for me. Handsome for less than 3 seconds. Zhang Feng kicked vigorously and heavily, and the door remained motionless. There was only a muffled sound. Then his expression twisted instantly. He hugged his feet, and shed tears of regret. It hurts. It hurts. The door is too hard. Is it broken? Zhang Feng tried to turn his ankle. Probably not, it's just a sprain. I also lost 3% of my health. Luo Shu took a deep breath, knocked on the door again, and said in a friendly voice, we are here to rescue you. If you can open the door, can you? It's completely quiet inside now. There's no sound at all. He is not in a hurry. Sit down and think quietly for a while. Luo Shu's goal now is very simple, to find Hiyushi and complete the task. He tried to say, the murderer who killed Hiyushi was Hiyushi himself, the real Hiyushi. The system is unresponsive. Sure enough, to find out the murderer, he still has to find the murderer himself. Luo Shu can now almost subjectively conclude that the cloned person was killed by Hiyushi, but perhaps the task will be completed only when he sees Hiyushi himself. Hidden mission. Half completed, found the clone base. The next step is to solve the mystery of her death. In short, we still need to find Hiyushi. Zhang Feng rubbed his feet and asked, who do you think is inside? Luo Shu, clone. Zhang Feng said. Then we can't open the door, let's leave them alone and go directly to Hiyushi. Luo Shu showed him the countless control switches on the mobile phone. This place is very big, much bigger than we imagined, like the small square just now, there may be more than a dozen. Where can we find Hiyushi? Zhang Feng's tone became unconfident, then let's go up and wait. Didn't you say that the mercenaries would run away within 10 minutes at most? Luo Shu nodded. It's okay, but we have the risk of mission failure. Maybe we will be trapped in this world, and then be judged as a negative mission. The rules of the horror game are so unreasonable. Zhang Feng was puzzled. Why did it fail? Luo Shu said. Just now Ren Wei said that Hiyushi was a freak and forced him to undergo a transformation. Now Hiyushi may be dead. Maybe the word shows that Ren Wei did not have time to confirm, or in other words, it is impossible to confirm whether Hiyushi is really dead, but he must have done something to put Hiyushi in a very unfavorable state. If we wait any longer, she may really die, the main body of the mission dies, and we may never be able to complete the mission. Zhang Feng took a deep breath, but Luo Shu smiled and said warmly, of course, this may just be my guess. You can take the risk and wait for the police to help find someone. Zhang Feng got up resolutely, and continued to kick the door. I absolutely believe in Brother Luo's judgment. You have to get them out to have a clue, right? I just keep kicking. The door will always open. Bang, 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 come on. Luo Shu cheered him up casually, and then started walking in the corridor. This should be a dormitory for clones. Lots of enclosed dorm rooms. There are so many people living in the underground dormitory, so we should pay more attention to fire prevention. Luo Shu found the fire alarm device on the wall. Open the glass cover and try to press it. The incandescent lights in the corridor dimmed instantly. Then switch to standby power. The red light flashes. The announcement sounded, fire alarm. Fire alarm. Didi. On both sides of the long and narrow corridor, all the doors heard the sound of electronic locks opening. Then it pops away instantly. Luo Shu was very pleasantly surprised. It's really useful. The fire alarm device can force the lock to be unlocked. Ren Wei still pays great attention to breeding safety. Zhang Feng was still kicking the door, kicking hard. The door opened and he kicked himself in. Oh shit, it's killing me. Another 3% of my health is lost. Inside, it was pitch black, dead silent. Then it seemed that someone jumped down from a high place and made a landing sound. One after another, there were landing sounds. The people inside seemed to hesitate for a moment, but after hearing the fire alarm, they still ran outside one after another. In the room that Zhang Feng kicked, the people inside ran out first, and ran to the fitness plaza without looking back. Hey, you! Luo Shu just wanted to call them back. Suddenly, dense footsteps sounded. Countless people rushed out from the rooms on both sides and flocked to the fitness plaza. Many of them saw Luo Shu standing in the corridor, dumbfounded. But they just looked at it curiously, and then they accelerated and ran towards the fitness square. They avoided Luo Shu, just like the tide avoids a rock. As for Luo Shu, he stood blankly in the middle of the corridor, watching the figures of these people running past. For the first time, he was truly stunned. At least 200 young people ran over. Everyone is wearing his most familiar blue and white school uniform. Luo Shu and Zhang Feng returned to the fitness square. 260 people stood in 8 rows on the square, standing neatly, obviously specially trained in fire. Everyone is wearing blue and white school uniforms. Luo Shu and Zhang Feng walked up to them. The silent team didn't speak, but everyone gave them curious eyes. Most, and some. Luo Shu looked over, and there were many familiar faces in the first row. It is the celebrities in the photos in the reception hall, their young faces. Bei Suosi with hair, Li Jiakeng who is tall and sunny and still not hunchbacked, Julie with plump face and slightly fat, the tense dragon who was so young when she was young. They all appear to be fairly healthy, tall and straight, with wheat-colored skin. Zhang Feng covered his mouth in shock, not because he saw so many celebrities and rich people who were reproduced, but because he couldn't understand why they were wearing the blue and white school uniforms of Zhengguo. Why are they? Why wearing my son's school uniform? Luo Shu pondered for a moment. I guessed blindly, it might not be accurate. Zhang Feng, you guess boldly. On the one hand, it is cheap, resistant to dirt, and convenient for sports. Luo Shu said with difficulty. On the other hand, it is ugly enough, it can prevent clones from falling in love early. Zhang Feng, live barrage. This weird scene was added a touch of joy by our school uniform. Ha 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 ha. I can't help it. I never post barrage. At this moment, I must say something. MMP. Luo Da, stop talking, it hurts my heart. Yes, I don't have a puppy love because of my school uniform. It's all the school uniform that seals my heaven-defying appearance. Our school uniforms are so ugly that they are in parallel worlds. They are so ugly that the clone bases have to buy them collectively. Really, ugly cry. Look, even the young Hallyu stars look like this when they put on our school uniform. Stop scolding our children for being too good looking. Ha 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 ha. I've watched at least a dozen movies about clones, and I imagined a clone base like Escape from Clone Island, in tight white tracksuits, ruin. The forceful style of this script world plummeted from the moment the blue and white school uniform appeared. Ha 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 ha. It's not scary at all. Luo Shu resisted the strong desire to complain and tried to communicate with them. He took out his mobile phone and opened Hiyushi's photo. Have you seen this man? Luo Shu leaned forward and asked them to watch carefully. Then he saw that the expressions of those cloned teenagers all changed, everyone's face was full of horror. Someone's throat moved, as if about to vomit. Is Hiyushi so ugly? He glanced at his phone. Shown above is a photo of the frogman with half of his head smashed out. Luo Shu smiled awkwardly. Aha! I made a mistake. I'm sorry. This one is my private collection. It should be this one. Chapter 71. This time, the photo of Hiyushi himself was called up on the phone. Tranquil, elegant and generous. But these clone teenagers who saw the half-headed frogman photo didn't have the heart to look at the photo at the moment, they just looked at Luo Shu with fear in their eyes. Some people didn't even dare to look at him at all, their teeth chattered, and their bodies trembled uncontrollably. Luo Shu frowned. They may have seen alien species such as frogmen, otherwise they would not have this reaction. Why did Ren Wei scare them with alien species? Then, Luo Shu walked past them with a mobile phone, asking over and over again, have you seen it? Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Have you? Are you dumb? These clones are basically of the same age group. The 206 people standing here seem to be around 16 to 20 years old. Of course, it is unknown how many years they have survived in the world. Luo Shu walked to the fourth row, but still no one spoke. But from the eyes of these children, he could clearly see that they basically recognized Hiyushi's face. Hiyushi in the photo, although she is 32 years old, is well maintained, full of collagen. Just looking at her face, I believe she will not be much different from that dead clone. Zhang Feng leaned over to Luo Shu, stared at the group of clones vigilantly, and whispered, they are so weird. Could it be that they can't speak at all, and don't understand what we are talking about? Luo Shu shook his head. The souls recruited by Yuanqi can talk. For the convenience of management, they should have at least taught the simplest communication. They don't know us and dare not speak. They must have been trained to do so. Quote. Zhang Feng frowned, thinking about it. He rolled up his sleeves. Then it looks like the only thing we can do is torture. Brother Luo, you rest. Let me do this little thing. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand, grabbed a blonde-haired blue-eyed clone girl by the collar, and said viciously, have you seen a fist that is as big as a casserole pot? When Luo Shu mentioned the soul, he couldn't help but think of the school that the soul said. I saw these children all wearing school uniforms. So I tried casually. Don't be nervous, this big fool and I are both new teachers. Zhang Feng was taken aback. Who is the big fool? Looking at them, Luo Shu obviously looked more natural, stared at himself curiously, and then asked, who is the squad leader? A boy with an Indian appearance turned his head and raised his hand timidly. I am the squad leader. He stands in the first row. Not far from him, another Asian-looking girl also raised her hand. I'm the deputy squad leader. They all speak Cantonese. Zhang Feng was stunned. That's okay. Are you talking now? Luo Shu happily ran to the first row. Ha! Have you met this classmate? The monitor nodded. She's Xiaomei. He looked at Luo Shu curiously. Hi, new teacher, where are the other teachers? Why are they gone? Also, is there a fire? Just now the alarm is sounding. Luo Shu didn't answer right away. He didn't know what kind of brainwashing education these clones received. If he said something wrong, would they immediately turn on the shut-up mode again? The fire alarm is for you to assemble urgently, there is no real fire. Luo Shu said. As for the teachers, what do you think? Where did they go? The monitor thought for a while, are there more monsters trying to attack our school? So the teachers are all fighting. Zhang Feng and Luo Shu exchanged glances. Both of them understood. Luo Shu reckons that they have been deceived by a story-like Attack on Titan. and Renwei may tell them that the outside world is full of monsters, only the school is safe, and occasionally a genetically modified alien like that will come in, and even directly fed the students who made mistakes to alien species, showing them how terrible it was. That's why they had that reaction when they saw the frogman photo just now. Luo Shu let out a before the battle is over. Teacher Dasha and I will take over the work. Now I need to find this girl. You said her name is Xiaomei, right? The squad leader pointed to the deputy squad leader. Xiaobai and Xiaomei are familiar, you can ask her. Zhang Feng said in a low voice. Nicknames are nicknames, numbers are numbers, their names are all nicknames plus numbers, so disgusting. Luo Shu whispered. Teacher Dasha, please shut up. Zhang Feng. Okay. Luo Shu walked over. Xiaobai, tell me, where is Xiaomei? Luo Shu actually wanted to get clues about Hiyushi himself from them, but now it seems that they only know the clone, and have never met Hiyushi himself. But at present there is only this one clue that can be pursued, and Luo Shu does not want to give up. There may be surprises. Deputy Monitor Xiaobai 11 frowned, seeming to be disgusted. Xiaomei is no longer my friend. She was still there yesterday, she went out to use the bathroom at night, and then she didn't come back. Looking at her expression, Luo Shu wanted to dig deeper. So, she used to be your friend. Why isn't she now? Xiaobai said. She is very strange, she always wants to leave the school, and wants to see what is outside the school. The teacher said that she is sick and needs treatment. Luo Shu sighed inwardly. Exuberant curiosity and desire to explore are also part of human nature. There are always such people with an indelible spirit. Luo Shu asked. You really don't know, where did she go last night? Xiaobai opened his mouth and hesitated. She may have gone to the toilet that was broken. Luo Shu raised his eyebrows. Make it clear. Under the pressure of the teacher, Xiaobai had no choice but to tell the whole story. There are 2 toilets on both sides of the dormitory, and one of them was partially damaged due to a fight with classmates, so it is forbidden to use it for 2 weeks. It will not be used until it is repaired. Just use another toilet. Recently, often sneaks to the damaged toilet. Every time she goes there for a long time, she comes back and tells me that she may have found a way to get out, and she still wants to take me out to have a look. Xiaobai quickly cleared himself up. Teacher, I will never go out. There are monsters outside. How could I be so stupid as to go out and die? I am not mentally ill. Luo Shu patted her head. Good boy, can you take me to the damaged toilet? Xiaobai has never seen such a gentle teacher. His face turned red, and his heart felt warm. Yeah. Then she led Luo Shu to the dormitory, and Zhang Feng followed behind. The monitor was about to ask something. Luo Shu waved his hand. Wait here. Free time. Damaged toilets at the end of the corridor. Xiaobai walked ahead. It's right here. As Luo Shu walked, his eyes began to flicker, and the picture fluctuated. Exception source code. Then the corridor he saw seemed to overlap with the corridor at a certain moment. The picture becomes dull and seems to lose all color. The figure of Xiaobai in front was replaced by another taller and stronger girl's back. He was also wearing a blue and white school uniform, and had the same short hair around his ears. She put her hands in her pockets and walked quickly, looking back nervously at something from time to time. Hiyushi's face. That's the clone. The flashback screen brought by the abnormal source code appears in an instant and disappears in an instant. Xiaobai stood in front of the toilet door. Teacher. What's the matter? Luo Shu walked quickly. It's all right. There is a sign under maintenance hanging on the door of the toilet. The door of the toilet seemed to be a relatively cheap solid wood composite board. Luo Shu pushed it with his hands and found that it was locked. Is this always locked? Xiaobai nodded. That's right, it will be locked after it breaks, and it will be dangerous if we forget it and run in to go to the bathroom anyway. Zhang Feng's big face suddenly came closer, and he said courteously, Brother Luo, do you want me to kick you away? Luo Shu pushed his face away. Can kicking the door be addictive? Zhang Feng said embarrassingly. Hey, I just want to contribute a bit. I always feel that you have contributed too much in this script, so I feel sorry for it. Luo Shu didn't speak, he was just thinking about how Hiyushi's clone, Xiaomei, usually unlocks the lock. He squatted down and noticed that there were many small scratches around the keyhole of the old-fashioned round lock. Zhang Feng said. It seems that novices are learning how to pick the lock, otherwise they wouldn't be so messy. Luo Shu almost admired the deceased. Has lived in an absolutely safe environment since she was a child, and the classmates around her are all good babies. She can even get the right tools and teach herself how to open the lock. Luo Shu stood in the corridor, looking up. There are monitors on both sides. Since there is a probe, how can Xiaomei come to this broken toilet many times at night, and no one cares about it? Xiaobai said. Xiaomei told me very early on that she found that the cameras here have not been turned on for many years, but the ones on the square are all turned on and still turn on, so she thinks that the cameras here are no longer used, and the teachers are getting looser and looser with us. She said that there may be more monsters outside, and more teachers are needed to fight. Luo Shu almost regretted her death. What a clever child. Xiaomei's guess is 80% correct. When Ren Wei first started this clone base, he must have been very strict, but after a few years, the clone children have not had any problems, and in this bunker, there are so many monitors and mercenaries guarding it, it is almost impossible to be overly cautious. A waste. With the success of the biological gene fusion experiment, they must devote more energy to those alien species, which are more dangerous and more valuable. Zhang Feng has been waiting. Now, do you want to kick? Luo Shu nodded. Kick it. Bang. Bigfoot opened the door. Men left and women right. Luo Shu turned right and walked into the women's restroom. He looked up and found that there was also a monitor in the toilet, but it seemed to have been broken long ago. Of course, Ren Wei would not talk about privacy with clones. Zhang Feng, who was a mechanic, took a look and said, "This kind of cheap product is not waterproof, it only needs to take a few showers and it will be broken properly." Luo Shu looked around the toilet, and he knew why Xiaomei had room to play. Ren Wei is obviously a very conscientious person. In order to save money, the toilet was built in a mess. From the door of the composite board, the cheapest monitoring probe inside, it can be seen how stingy it is. In the toilet, there is no partition for the squatting pit, and the shower inside has no baffle, not even a curtain. The tile material used for the walls is also obviously the worst, and the walls and ground of the squatting pit have cracks in several places. He looked towards the shower area, and the picture in front of him began to fluctuate again. Again, so often this time. In the empty shower area at the moment, in Luo Shu's eyes, there were a few girls with wet hair who had just taken a shower. They seemed to have a quarrel, so they started fighting. A girl gets pushed, then slips. Then he slammed his forehead against the wall. The tiles in that place were broken all over the place. The screen flickered and they were all gone. There was only a tall girl who ran in like a thief and walked there. It's Xiaomei. Luo Shu directly followed the illusion this time, and followed her in the illusion. She squatted down, and Luo Shu squatted down too. She stretched out her hand to touch the broken tile, and found a small round hole. And Luo Shu was in the same position, and didn't touch anything. There was already a big hole there, and he could put his whole arm in it. The flashback screen disappeared again. Luo Shu turned around and said, "This dog hole. She should have made it." Xiaomei found a hole here and realized the weakness of the wall. She spent a few nights working hard to make it as thick as a finger. The small hole in the hole was smashed into a big hole that one person can go through. "I want to climb in and have a look." Zhang Feng, who was active, knelt down with a plop. Then he stuffed his head in. Old rules. I'll take the lead. I'll scout the way. Unfortunately, he is powerless. The body squirmed for a while, but Zhang Feng still only had one head in, and his fat buttocks twisted and twisted behind him. Xiaobai stared at the teacher's honeyed behavior with dumbfounded. Luo Shu asked curiously, "Are you playing an ostrich?" "It looks like it." Zhang Feng pulled out his head helplessly. "It's quite big inside, full of various sewer pipes. I can't get in with my body, why don't I smash the entire wall?" Luo Shu thought for a while, yes. Then they kicked Xiaobai out and asked her to go back to the fitness plaza to participate in the free activities of the big guys. By the way, as the deputy squad leader, manage them well, and don't come over when they hear any noise. Xiaobai is used to obeying orders, so he doesn't say anything else. Zhang Feng can't do anything. He won the first place in sabotage. He happily smashed the wall with the butt of his rifle. Hit a hole. Zhang Feng leaned over to take a look, and said in shock, "This toilet is a tofu project. This wall seems to be a composite formwork covered with cement and then covered with a layer of tiles." Luo Shu ate chocolate quietly to recover his strength. Continue. Zhang Feng continued to smash happily. 80. 80. 80. Luo Shu complained. What an old sketch. It didn't take long for Zhang Feng to smash a big hole that could allow him to climb through it. So he got in first and shouted from inside, "Safe. There are all kinds of pipes here. There seems to be nothing. Do you want to come in? Can you find Hiyushi from here?" Luo Shu has no reasoning logic to talk about at the moment, he just has a kind of intuition. As long as you follow Xiaomei's previous route, you can follow her and find Hiyushi. After stuffing all the equipment and carrying the rifle on his back, Luo Shu also got in. It was pitch black except for some toilet light seeping through the hole. After the two of them came in, there was only one thick and large water pipe, surrounded by various pipes. Zhang Feng asked, "How do I go? Brother Luo, up or down?" Luo Shu leaned against one pipe with his back, kicked the other with his legs, and then looked up at it. It was pitch black. Look down. His eyes fluctuated, and he saw the nimble figure of Xiaomei again. Looking at the flashback clip, Luo Shu seemed to be watching a guide ghost leading her to find the person who killed her. "Go down," Luo Shu said. Zhang Feng held a small flashlight in his mouth, and the light flickered on. Luo Shu is also starting to think now, whether he should spend some game money later to buy some small equipment that he carries with him. The script world at the current stage should still belong to the level of low martial arts and low magic, and some small props for survival in the wild may be quite useful. And it can be placed in the pocket, and it will not take up the limited inventory space. Just thinking about it like this, Zhang Feng said, "Hey, this ventilation pipe seems to have been dismantled. Was it that girl who did it?" Directly below these pipes, there is an entrenched ventilation pipe, which is square and extending in all directions. It seems that there are many mysteries under the clone base. Perhaps, the living areas and laboratories of those alien species are all here. A piece of iron sheet was upturned on the ventilation pipe. Zhang Feng shined it with a flashlight. Luo Shu also jumped down, stood on the ventilation pipe, and opened the iron sheet with his hand to look inside. "It should be right." Xiaomei pried it open. Luo Shu said. Zhang Feng was suspicious. "Brother Luo, why are you so sure? This didn't leave any traces for you to reason about." Luo Shu said with a blank face. "Don't ask, it's the sixth sense to ask." Zhang Feng said depressedly, "Brother Luo, do you think I'm stupid and don't understand?" Luo Shu said, "No, the main reason is that you don't believe me when I tell you." Zhang Feng, "Tell me about it." Luo Shu pouted. "I saw her crawl in just now, and I also saw that there was a gap in the iron sheet of the ventilation duct, and she pried it open with a toothbrush. I don't know why, for such a nonsense reason, but Zhang Feng felt that there was a hairy back, as if there was really a ghost leading the way. He shivered all over, then waved his hands in displeasure and said, "It's fine if you don't say anything. You still scare me with all this talk." Luo Shu forcefully broke off the iron plate, and then tried to climb in. A muffled voice came out, "Look, you won't believe me when I tell you." After Luo Shu went in, he felt that there was almost no space for activities not limited. Can only move forward, not backward. When ordinary people enter such a claustrophobic space, they will feel psychologically depressed, have difficulty breathing, and in severe cases, they will feel palpitations, panic, and even faint from suffocation. But Luo Shu didn't feel any discomfort. "I even feel that such a space. Visually, there is an extended aesthetic feeling, and there is a psychological sense of security wrapped in it. It was so comfortable that I even wanted to lay down and sleep for a while." Zhang Feng doesn't need to try this time, he also knows he can't get in. "Brother Luo, what should I do?" Luo Shu had already thought about it. "You walk on it, follow me." "Oh, walking is just a description. Don't really walk upright, you have to crawl, otherwise your pressure will be too high. If it is too big, it will step on the ventilation pipe and fall down." Zhang Feng frowned and thought for a while, "You mean I'm heavy?" "Oh no, how can I follow?" Luo Shu, "Rely on your ears." Zhang Feng, "Okay." So, the two of them crawled in and out of the ventilation duct. Zhang Feng crawled very comfortably outside, with the light source of the flashlight, so he climbed extremely fast, and he had to stop from time to time, and patiently put his ear on the pipe, listening to Luo Shu's movements, and confirmed that the two were not in sync. Every time Luo Shu crawls a certain distance, the abnormal source code will bring a flashback picture. So from time to time he could see the girl who died this morning, crawling ahead of him to lead him the way. After climbing for about 2 minutes, Xiaomei stopped. Luo Shu thought she was tired. But when Luo Shu climbed to the position where it completely overlapped Xiaomei, he saw the vent grid directly below. Through the grid, a gust of cold air hits the face. Luo Shu looked down. It was a square room, the walls and the ground were covered with a thick layer of frost. Looks like a cold storage. This is the cold storage he saw at the moment, clean only cold. Luo Shu tilted his head slightly, watching Xiaomei's expression from a position of almost zero distance. She was very tired from crawling, panting heavily, and there were fine beads of sweat on her forehead and the tip of her nose. Her eyebrows were untrimmed and messy, but they were heroic. This pair of heroic eyebrows were tightly frowned. She seemed to see something, but she couldn't see it clearly. She slowly moved her face to it, trying to see it more clearly. Suddenly, she seemed to have seen the most terrifying thing. From Luo Shu's current distance, he can clearly see. The moment she saw clearly, her eyes expanded to the maximum. And the pupils shrank to the minimum. If the eyes are the windows of the soul, then at this moment, her soul. Only fear. Luo Shu moved her head slightly, allowing herself to fully merge with Xiaomei, ghost, looking down from her perspective. Sight through the grid of vents. The picture was slightly disturbed, and then he saw it. A mountain of dead bodies. There are at least hundreds of them. Every corpse has been disemboweled. Every corpse looks almost exactly the same. They all look like Hiyushi. They are like frozen meat in the supermarket, stacked together without dignity, not even a fig leaf. Most of the corpses have their eyes open, white frost is attached to the hair on the face, and even the eyelashes, and the expression is full of fear and despair. Xiaomei was already frightened, his eyes are trembling. But at this moment, another pair of calm eyes penetrated her flustered pupils. Steadily scanning the former scene of this cold storage. So that's what it means, what the soul said. School, monsters, a lot of me. It's not that she didn't understand the rules, it's not that she didn't finish speaking, she really saw it. A lot of her. Substituted into the perspective of Xiaomei, this is really scary. Luo Shu then discovered that there was an obvious gap in the ages of these corpses. There are young Hiyushi, and middle-aged Hiyushi, but there are no old ones. Maybe they will not raise clones to old age. Another point, many of the corpses of Hiyushi had various strange deformities on their bodies. Those with scales on their skin, those with black hair, those with butterfly wings on their backs, and those with unusually thick arms. Various animal characters. These corpses don't look like those alien species that perfectly fused their genes before birth. It's more like the splicing monster with horns on its head and tails under its body in the novice mission. Luo Shu knew what was going on. Excellent species is a new species created congenitally through gene fusion in the embryonic state. And she wants to modify the gene the day after tomorrow, this difficulty. At least in the outside world, in the current era, it is basically impossible to do it. He unconsciously thought of the splicing monster again. Didn't that doctor do it? It's just that he used another, more brutal method. With a flash in front of his eyes, Luo Shu noticed that little Wang Hao Mei was crawling forward again in a hurry. This time, Luo Shu followed her for a long time. I don't know how many turns I have made, and how many similar cold storages I have seen, with various corpses piled up inside. There are other clones whose organs have been removed, and this is the most eye-catching corpse. There are also many clones who have failed in genetic modification, each with its own weirdness and ugliness. And the corpses of the aliens. Luo Shu doesn't know the cause of their death, it may also be a failure of the experiment. The screen keeps flashing back, and Xiaomei keeps crawling. Finally, she climbed to the finish line. At the end of the ventilation duct, there is no road ahead. Luo Shu climbed to that position and looked down. What? Looking through the grid of the ventilation pipe, Luo Shu accidentally discovered that this is not the cold storage for storing corpses, but a warmly decorated living room full of home atmosphere. Then he saw that after a brief hesitation, the ghost of Xiaomei kicked open the grid of the ventilation pipe and jumped down. Gone. Luo Shu lay on the grid of the ventilation duct and looked down vigorously. But no more. The flashback clip given by the abnormal source code is completely over here. After Xiaomei jumped from here, she disappeared without a trace. It seems, this is the scene of the first crime. 90% of Xiaomei died here, in this seemingly warmly furnished suite. In such a cold and bloody clone base, Luo Shu suddenly saw such a living room with an inconsistent decoration style, and Luo Shu didn't need to use his brain at all. He already knew who lived here with his toes. The first, dead person, in the script world this time is also the man behind the scenes of this drama, Hiyushi herself. Luo Shu lay on the ground quietly for a while, the lights below were bright, but there was no movement at all, probably no one was there. He tapped the iron sheet of the ventilation pipe above his head with his fingers, and whispered, "Hey, Lao Zhang, can you hear me?" Zhang Feng was lying on top of the ventilation pipe, and was also tightly attached to the iron sheet. "I can hear it. This thing's sound insulation is not good, Brother Luo. Did you see it?" Luo Shu said. "I saw a very warmly decorated room, and I guess Hiyushi is below. I have to go down and have a look." Zhang Feng hurriedly said. "Then I will come down immediately." Luo Shu said. "We don't know what's going on below. If we both go down together, we will die together if we encounter a desperate situation. So, I'll go down and see the situation first." Zhang Feng is a straight person. Hearing this, he felt that Luo Shu was too loyal. "How can I do that? I can't ask you to step on mines for me. We must die together." Luo Shu said helplessly. "Hey, brother, don't be so heartless. Listen to me, stay on top. You are my trump card. If there is a situation, I will definitely those who need your support. When the time comes, I will tell you the code and tell you to come down and you will come down again." Zhang Feng accepted this statement, and he was still a little happy. "Hey, I'm Brother Luo's trump card." Like Xiaomei, Luo Shu kicked open the grid of the ventilation duct and jumped down. Zhang Feng was on the top. When he heard the movement, he suddenly thought of something, and said anxiously, "Hey, Brother Luo. Brother Luo, you haven't told me what the password is yet." He didn't dare to shout too loudly. After Luo Shu jumped off, naturally he didn't hear it. When Luo Shu's feet touched the ground, there was almost no shock resistance, because he was stepping on a very thick and soft carpet. His first reaction after standing still was to pick up his rifle, look around, and scan every corner, as well as the roof, with sharp eyes. Not even a monitor. There is also a faint scent of aromatherapy in the room. Luo Shu thought to himself, in such a clean and warm women's boudoir, there was a man like himself covered in blood and holding a rifle, which was really out of character. "Hiyushi, what kind of person are you?" With such questions in mind, Luo Shu began to move quietly, observing everything in this living room. Soon, he found many strange places. First of all, Luo Shu saw that behind the sofa was a huge photo wall, and the entire wall was covered with many photos, large and small. At first glance, they should all be Sweet Family daily photos. The little girl carved in powder, with her mouth full of cakes and a piece of cake in her hand, ran triumphantly in front of her. Behind her was a boy with a square face who looked a few years older than her, chasing her. Very crazy. In the corner of the photo, Luo Shu saw a familiar yet unfamiliar face. The amiable version of He Zhenggu, sitting at the dining table, holding a goblet filled with orange juice, looking at the two children who were fighting, couldn't keep his eyes open from laughing. The subject in the photo is very clear. He Zhenggu and his two children, that is, Hiyu and her big brother who died early. Most of the other photos are of the two of them together. Starting from a picture of a 5-year-old boy with a bitter face, reluctantly holding a baby girl in a swaddle, the dense photos record their growth trajectory. Until the boys go to college, Hiyushi has also become a beautiful girl. This boy with thick eyebrows and square face is indeed quite heroic like He Zhenggu. In the past, Hiyushi looked sunny and playful, with eyebrows and eyes similar to his father and big brother. Luo Shu thought, it seems that the death of her big brother really hit Hiyushi hard. Her original temperament is almost exactly the same as Xiaomei. It's just not as strong as the clones exercised. In addition to the photo wall, there are many old things in the living room that are obviously quite old, some boys' toys, figures of Ultraman and monsters, peripherals of dinosaurs, etc. Luo Shu reckoned that it all belonged to Hiyushi's big brother. Looking at it, Luo Shu suddenly realized, could that hidden item, which I have never found, be here? Then decisively opened the prompt. Everything is dimmed, only one light shines. Luo Shu looked for the light. It was a room next to the living room. He walked in, immediately shocked. In just one step, Luo Shu feels like he has traveled again. From an ordinary residential area on Hong Kong Island to a wooden house in the Amazon jungle. This woman probably has a mental problem. For a while, Luo Shu really couldn't think of it. Why would he build a fake wooden house in his own residence? The wooden house is very messy, except for the dirty kitchen stove. Most of the places are wooden tables and chairs, which are full of experimental instruments, test tubes, flasks, disposable rubber gloves, surgical knives, and messy manuscripts. Luo Shu was not distracted by these things, but just followed the white light prompted by the system to find it. Next to a dirty sink, Luo Shu picked up this old-fashioned radio that looked like n-stacked arhats. The white light disappears, and a prompt pops up in the item bar. A simple macromolecular chromatography separator. Type: drama-related. Quality: poor. Function: it can separate and purify blood from certain medicines. Usage method: plug in the power, turn on the switch, and align the medicine bottle with the outlets on both sides of the separator. Whether the script can be brought out. Number. Remarks: the first-generation separator made by Dr. Henry. At that time he had not yet overcome the problem of rejection between different organisms, but at that time he was already a serial killer hiding in the dark. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. When Luo Shu saw the description of this item, he was totally shocked. He stared wide-eyed, and silently took out the blood with BT immune suppression that he got from the splicing monster's body during the novice mission from the inventory. No way. These two scripts are in the same world. He looked at the item's description again. Name: blood with BT immunosuppressant. Type: contaminated products. Quality: poor. Function: with the help of professional medical equipment, BT immunosuppressant can be isolated. Whether the script can be brought out. Yes. Remarks: I can't understand. What kind of BT can extract blood from this tube in this task? Absolutely right. Luo Shu's mood suddenly surged. He studied this rough and crude separator for a while, and then he picked up a lot of messy manuscripts, plugged in the power socket, then turned on the separator, poured this tube of blood into it, and then found it in the next cabinet. 2 glass medicine bottles of suitable size are aligned with the water outlets on both sides of the instrument and put on firmly. Then start the button. There was a pleasant, piercing hum. At this moment, Luo Shu has put Hiyushi's life and death aside. The medicine bottle on the left was filled with pale yellow serum and blood that sank to the bottom. On the right, only a few drops of colorless medicine were squeezed out. Luo Shu directly threw the transparent bottle of sinking blood on the left into the trash can. Pick up the bottle on the right if you find a treasure. Name: BT immunosuppressant. Type: pharmacy. Quality: normal. Function: by injecting these special BT immunosuppressants into the body, the operation can be performed within 2 hours, and any carbon-based life organ can be replaced without rejection for a lifetime. This product only guarantees no rejection. If it dies from other surgical complications, this product will not be responsible. Requirements for use: level up to IV5, have a BT heart. Whether the script can be brought out. Yes. Remarks: which organ to replace? Do you have to ask? Of course, all of them will be replaced. If there is a chance. Who wouldn't want the perfect body of a Super Saiyan? After receiving the BT immunosuppressant, Luo Shu, as a qualified medical student, became uncontrollably excited. His first thought was, here's a chance to do surgery in a horror game. And it's still a xenotransplantation that is impossible to come across in a lifetime under normal circumstances. The replacement organs may come from any kind of animal, or even from alien creatures. After all, it is clearly stated in the function that it can replace the organs of any carbon-based life without causing rejection. It was only later that he realized that it was possible for him to become fishy directly by transplanting organs. In horror games, upgrading can increase the basic attributes, but it is obviously very slow. If you directly transplant organs, you may get a qualitative leap. To some extent, it can also hide its strength. Think about it, assuming that you are only level 5, you have obtained an NPC body with basic attributes equivalent to level 50. Of course, this is just an unrealistic imagination. As soon as Luo Shu thought about it, he realized that there were still many problems with the use of BT immunosuppressants. Who will do the surgery is a big question. Secondly, the surgical environment, postoperative rehabilitation, which biological organ to replace, and how much to replace are all issues. The so-called full replacement mentioned in the remarks is more of a joke, or even a trap. Luo Shu put the BT immunosuppressant into the inventory. Anyway, this is a really good thing, and its value must be better than most of my current equipment and skills. Maybe it can be sold for a sky-high price. At this time, Luo Shu faintly heard some voices. It seemed to be a slight knocking sound, accompanied by an extremely faint cry. Luo Shu glanced at the wooden house. There should be no valuable props left, so he picked up his gun and walked out. Looking forward, Luo Shu walked up several steps. Luo Shu noticed that the floor was raised here, and the floor on the ground changed from warm but fragile wooden boards to marble stone. The front is a clean stone wall, with only an opaque white glass door in the middle, with an iris recognition device on the side of the door. The faint voice came from here. The good news is, it seems that Hiyushi is still alive. Luo Shu leaned forward and studied the switch. The bad news is, I can't open this thing. Luo Shu tried his own eyes casually, and after scanning, it showed. Iris recognition failed. Please scan again. Cut. If it's a numeric keypad password, you can still guess the order of the numbers based on the fingerprint on it, and the iris can't help it. This door must be entered. Otherwise, this level is probably stuck here. If it is delayed for too long, Hiyushi may really die, and the mission will really fail. Luo Shu walked a little further and shot at the glass door with his rifle. The bullets from the tar assault rifle spit out and hit the glass door firmly, leaving shallow craters. Around the crater, the glass is obviously covered with cracks, but it is not broken. Bulletproof glass. Oh. Luo Shu went up and used the most stupid way, go up and kick. After a few kicks, he continued to shoot. This time he hit the 4 corners of the bulletproof glass. Then keep kicking. Still not working. Luo Shu searched around the house to see if there were any tools like a big hammer. Obviously not. He can only take out the hardest object on his body from the inventory, flying surfboard. There are 2 batteries left. Luo Shu put on the control patch, and then controlled the surfboard to fly over. Boom. The cracks in the bulletproof glass are denser. Exclamation mark. While the surfboard does not know what kind of alloy material it is still intact. He controls the surfboard and flies back, then accelerates. Go again. Boom. Not even close. Luo Shu was thinking, theoretically, if the power is enough, he can accelerate the flying surfboard to supersonic speed, and there is a high probability that he can blast the door in one go. But in such a narrow confined space, the sonic boom produced by the supersonic speed may cause him to bleed to death from the shock. Forget it, it's almost there. The power consumption of the flying surfboard is indeed incredibly fast, and it's already gone in such a short time. It flew back unsteadily, then fell to the ground, motionless. Luo Shu picked up the heavy surfboard and swung it. It was like swinging a hammer. Bang, 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 hit it again and again. 80, 80, 80. Luo Shu smashed it with all his strength, and the bulletproof glass was shattered beyond recognition. It was shaking up and down. It was only because of the special glue that the glass fragments were stuck together that it was not broken. One last shot. Luo Shu rounded the surfboard and was about to make a final breakthrough. Suddenly, the glass door slowly, precariously, moved away automatically. Luo Shu forcibly withdrew his strength. He froze in half when he was about to smash down. The door opened, and on the other side stood a crying boy, sobbing and looking at Luo Shu. Luo Shu, who are you, handsome? This boy was about 12 or 13 years old, with a very manly small square face, thick eyebrows and big eyes, and very handsome features, but his eyes seemed very shy. It seemed that he mustered up enough courage to come over and open the door. Luo Shu recognized him instantly. Just now on the photo wall, I saw hundreds of photos of him from childhood to adulthood. Isn't this Hiyushi's brother? Luo Shu couldn't think of any obscene words for a while, and was shocked. First, rule out the resurrection of the dead. He also wanted to understand in an instant. Hiyushi seems to have preserved the big brother's cell tissue very early, and now he has cloned a big brother that is much smaller than himself. But even with the exact same genes, he's not him anymore. At this moment, Luo Shu even took the time to think about the ultimate philosophical proposition. Why are you you? Is it your body that determines who you are, or your memory? What if you lose part of your memory? What if someone else transplants your memory? The little boy opened his mouth to stop Luo Shu's boring thinking. Save my sister. He turned and looked somewhere behind him. Luo Shu looked over. This is a very large and very sci-fi space. On both sides of the wide aisle, there are 8 fully enclosed oval metal cabins. Outside the metal cabins are operating tables, ECG monitors, anesthesia machines and other things. 8 metal cabins correspond to 8 open operating rooms. The drains on the ground hadn't been cleaned up, dirty and bloody stains were visible to the naked eye, and there were even some broken internal organs stuck in the sink. Here, it should be the place where the acquired genetic modification experiment is done. At this time, all the metal cabins are closed, only one is open, and the green light on the side of the metal cabin means it is running. And after entering, Luo Shu could also hear some inhuman cries of pain and dull crashing sounds coming from the metal cabin. Luo Shu walked over quickly, then trotted up. The sound insulation here is really good. When he got close, he was a little scared. Bang, bang, bang. Ah! Accompanied by the screams of the half-human, half-ghost, the heavy metal hatch and bulkhead are being deformed under the impact of some kind of force. This situation made Luo Shu think of the Tathagata palm in Kung Fu. Bang bang bang. The front of the metal cabin was completely beaten. From the protruding shape, you can even see the outline of a little fist. On the control panel outside, it shows that the temperature inside is as high as 100 degrees Celsius. High temperature alert. High temperature alert. Luo Shu pressed a few times outside. The cabin door was locked, and he couldn't unlock it. But he found he could turn down the heat. He tried it and pressed it to 95. The little boy ran over, crying and shouting, "Save her, save my sister. The bad guys are going to kill her." Luo Shu patted the little boy's head and said with a smile. Then what should we do? Big brother is also a bad guy. After all, excitedly pressed a few times, the temperature in the cabin was raised to 100. This metal cabin is obviously not specially used as an oven, so it can only reach a maximum of 100. Luo Shu wanted to increase the adjustment, but there was no other way. Poor little clone boy. With a mental age of only 4 to 5 years old, he has never seen the dangers of society. He couldn't even understand what those numbers meant. But he could understand the cry of "sister" inside, and it was even more heart-piercing. He could understand that the smile of the man in front of him was full of human malice. With a sound of "wow," the boy sat down on the ground and burst into tears. Live barrage. Oh my God. Luo Shu, be yourself. He is still a child. I don't know why, but seeing you as a grown man still bullying a child makes me inexplicably happy. Luo Shu is handsome when he doesn't smile, but looks like a weirdo when he smiles. Probably because of smiling into squinting. Squinting eyes are all monsters. Didn't you just say you wanted to rescue Hiyushi? It is estimated that Hiyushi is far away from death, and he is about to break out of the cabin. Luo Shu wants to weaken her a little more, so as not to wait and pay for 950 inches. That's what Luo Shu thought. Just by hearing the screams inside, one can imagine how energetic Hiyushi is at the moment, how full of energy she is. And the power of each punch is terrifying. Bang, bang, bang. Hiyushi inside, the more painful the screams, the more violent the hands. The oval metal cabin has been beaten into the shape of a flu virus by her. There are vaults everywhere that are bulged by violence. A crack was punched out of the originally tight hatch. Bark. There is hot air coming out of the gap. Bang. The gap is even bigger. The water vapor evaporated at high temperature pours out. Luo Shu took a few steps back, picked up his rifle vigilantly, and stared at the hatches that were gradually knocked open through the holographic scope. The little boy stopped crying, looked over there, and shouted blankly, "Sister." Then there was a bang. Accompanied by a large amount of high-temperature water vapor gushing out, the entire hatch was blown out. The operating table on the opposite side was overturned. Luo Shu aimed at the smoke-filled cabin door, feeling a little nervous, as the hot air in the metal cabin gushed out, raising the temperature a bit. The screaming stopped, and heavy gasping can now be heard. Ho, 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 ho. In the thick water vapor, one foot stepped out first. From this foot you can imagine. The He-Yushi inside should not be considered human anymore. If there is a devil in the world, the devil's feet should be like this. Outside the thick finger bones, there is a layer of dark purple flesh and fine scales. The pitch-black sharp claws, like sickles, slowly protruded from the flesh. Luo Shu frowned tightly and said, "Your feet must be very expensive to put on socks, right?" The devil inside paused when he came out, maybe also suspecting that he had heard something wrong. Barrage. Luo Shu, shut up. You ruined the atmosphere of the boss debut. Ha 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 ha. I was nervous watching this, and suddenly laughed out loud. Boss, I said that I kill people without blinking an eye. You ask me if my eyes are dry. I show you how cruel my claws are, and you ask me if I wear shoes and socks. I will destroy UMLGBZ. The smoke cleared away, and the person inside came out. Luo Shu's eyes lit up slightly, and he let out another sigh of admiration. Pretty girl. The person who came out was indeed He-Yushi. But it's hard to see He-Yushi's true colors from her appearance. She turned into a bald monster with a metallic sheen all over her body. He-Yushi raised her head. A pair of topaz-like cat eyes with vertical pupils stared at Luo Shu without a trace of human emotion. Then moved forward. She had many obvious burns on her body, she was still smoking, and her scales were overheated dark red. At least dozens of tubes of unknown use were connected to her from head to toe. As she moved forward, those thick needles buried under the skin, in the muscles, and even connected to the bone marrow emerged one by one, and then the tubes one by one, they were torn apart from her body. Luo Shu was serious, and looked around a few times from top to bottom. Only a few traces of He-Yushi could be discerned on the facial features. She has become an out-and-out monster in human aesthetics. The rickety back, strong muscles, hard scales, abnormal bone hyperplasia on her arms. It's not a normal hyperplasia. These extra bones formed two fan-shaped shields on her arms. In addition, there is a thick and long tail extending from her lumbar spine. Slightly flicking the tail, Luo Shu could clearly see that there was a sharp bony spur at the end of her tail, and there were many similar small bony spurs at the end of her tail, forming an undercut. Luo Shu could imagine the consequences of being stabbed by this tail. He-Yushi reached out and tore off the last two tubes on her body, then she spoke. Her voice is completely different from her current appearance, she is still gentle and rational. Hello, detective. Didn't expect you to find this place alive. Luo Shu also smiled politely. Hello, Frieza, I'm so glad you're still alive. He-Yushi. Glad I'm alive. Wait, who is Frieza? Luo Shu seemed to be able to hear her heart, and waved his hands. Don't think so much, it doesn't matter who Frieza is. If your brother is alive, he will definitely like this meme very much. I saw the living room, I guess he must have Dragon Ball Z in his childhood. He-Yushi's expression darkened. She knew that her father had found several detectives, and she had her own person in He Zhengu's company. Chen Falong. Before entering the cabin for the last round of renovation, Yushi saw photos of Luo Shu and others. They are sent by the father, and they will definitely hinder their plans. Kill. As soon as He-Yushi moved, he jumped out. After being swayed by Ren Wei, she has already suffered serious injuries, but even so, she still possesses a power far exceeding that of ordinary aliens. Luo Shu was always ready and pulled the trigger immediately. He-Yushi's judgment was faster. Before the bullet was ejected, she had already dodged away. She now has a cheetah-like torso, waist and explosive power. Every dodge and sprint is on all fours, combined with the length of human limbs. How weird it is. Luo Shu almost blinked, and He-Yushi appeared behind him. She stretched out her devilish sharp claws, entangled with electric arcs, her eyes were fierce, and she was about to shoot them up. Luo Shu's hair was already floating under the action of the electrostatic field. He suddenly said, I know Henry. He-Yushi's movements stopped immediately, a trace of human emotion came back to her face, and she asked in amazement, what? Luo Shu turned around and looked at her. I said, I know Dr. Henry. Hiyushi was a little confused. How is it possible? In an instant, many, beautiful, memories came to my mind. Taking this opportunity, Luo Shu took 2 steps back, hugged the little clone boy, and put a pistol on the back of his head. It may be that the action was too rough. The little boy was frightened, and cried, wow, again. Luo Shu's heart softened, and he stroked his hair with the gun barrel. Hey, don't be afraid, big brother should be as light as possible, just don't move around. Hiyushi said angrily, what do you want to do? Luo Shu took it for granted and said, take a hostage and threaten you, can't you see it? I can see it. Hiyushi was not good at words, and replied instinctively, and then felt humiliated. Her complexion became even worse. She opened her mouth, showing her fangs. What on earth do you want to do? Luo Shu smiled politely. Actually, I don't want to do anything, I just want you to keep a safe distance from me, and then we can chat. Hiyushi's face turned cold again, diluting her anger, but she looked even more terrifying. Then she shook her head. He is just a copy. I asked him to call me my sister, raised him for years, told him, me and my brother the relationship between, but he's not him, I know that. Then take a big step forward. Luo Shu was so scared that he also took a big step back and shouted, don't. It's good to keep it in mind. Hiyushi took another big step forward, and said coldly, you must die. You belong to my father, you will hinder my plan. Luo Shu took a big step back again, absolutely not. Since you know about your father looking for us, you should know that he threatened us with an explosive collar. Look at my neck. He stretched his neck vigorously. Is it white and slippery, with nothing on it? See that? I have found a way to dismantle the explosive collar. I have long been threatened by your father. Hiyushi froze for a moment. Then why did you come here? Luo Shu explained very seriously. The skinless corpse you left behind is so interesting. I'm just curious and want to solve the mystery. Next, I just want to talk to you about my reasoning. Nothing else. I won't get in the way of your plans. Hiyushi was completely stunned. After a while, she murmured, are you crazy? Luo Shu complained. If you have something to say, don't suddenly attack yourself. There were a few more tips in the live broadcast room. Barrage. Luo Shu, you were called crazy by a crazy guy who transformed himself into a monster. How crazy are you? If others don't accept me, I will accept Luo Shu. Watching his live broadcast room makes me feel better, and watching others make me cough. It's too scary to see others, but to see Luo Shu's smile, haha Ren. Obviously quite dangerous, but why am I not afraid that Luo Shu will die? Because good people don't live long, and evils last for thousands of years. Luo Shu probably can live for a long time. Hiyushi gritted her back molars. What exactly do you want to do? Are you stalling for time? Also, where did you know Henry from? Luo Shu hugged the boy and backed away a little. As I said, I just want to solve the puzzle. And your puzzle starts with the death of your big brother. While thinking about how to kill Hiyushi later, Luo Shu reasoned, you have been well protected since you were a child, and it is precisely because of this that you are too fragile and lack sustenance other than family affection. I guess you must have no friends. Your mother is dead, and your father is very busy, so your big brother has too many roles. He is not only a parent, but also an elder brother, a friend, and even a lover. All your emotional sustenance is on your big brother. Hiyushi had a gloomy face, looking full of murderous intent. Luo Shu knew that he had been guessed to be close to 10. In college, the tutor suggested that they take a look at medical psychology. As a qualified second-year medical student, Luo Shu naturally listened to the teacher's words, and spent a month reading clinical psychology, drug psychology, mental health counseling, etc. subjects. He couldn't get enough of it, so in order to prove the doubts that arose during the learning process, he went to make inferences about subjects such as personality psychology, social psychology, and criminal psychology. Just guessing here, it really does help a little bit. Luo Shu continued to guess. After your brother died, your mind was gradually distorted and filled with obsessions. You want to resurrect him. So, you secretly kept part of your brother's body tissue for cloning. Hiyushi's face became more and more gloomy. She turned her neck and made a click. No, I'm not that naive. Luo Shu. Hiyushi walked towards him. I'm not that naive. I never thought I could revive my big brother. His body was indeed preserved, but that was not my decision, but my father's. Luo Shu said in surprise. Nani? He sang. Why? Hiyushi. My father had a delusional idea. He spent a lot of money on my big brother when he was still alive, pumping his blood, injecting replacement fluid, and then putting it in a coffin of liquid nitrogen. Let me be big brother, even the last life course can be completed well, just for his delusion. I hope that one day, medicine will be prosperous, and then he will be thawed, and his terminal lung cancer will be cured. Luo Shu was silent. He knows that the idea of freezing people has been around for a long time, but it is currently technically unfeasible. Once a creature is frozen, the water in the body will freeze, and the ice crystals will pierce every cell and destroy the structure. Entering this state is tantamount to death, and it is impossible for a god to save it. Maybe, in horror games, some parallel worlds can do it. But here, obviously not. Luo Shu nodded. Yes, this is a delusion. He seemed to have a very emotional expression on his face, but in fact, he was still secretly moving out, trying to lure Hiyushi out. Hiyushi really fell into a certain kind of sad mood, completely unaware of Luo Shu, a dog man's plan. Luo Shu pretended to be very frustrated. Why did I guess wrong at the beginning? Then what did you think? Your father said that you had obvious changes at that time and you were going to study abroad studying medicine, isn't it for your brother? Hiyushi raised her eyes. She had a monster-like face, but there was a trace of detachment in her expression. My big brother made me understand the fragility of the human body. At the beginning, I wanted to find a solution to these terrible diseases. I want a cure. Then her voice lowered again, but I soon realized that the disease can never be cured. Even if one terminal disease is cured, there will be another one. I want to find a one-and-done solution. Looking at this poor man who fell into madness, Luo Shu was quite touched, and said a Western proverb, the road to hell is often paved with good wishes. Speaking of this, Hiyushi's eyes flashed a little light again. Then I met a person during my study abroad. He has the same ideals as me, and he is a genius. Luo Shu said. He is Henry, your first boyfriend. Hiyushi was taken aback, and looked at Luo Shu. Yes, how did you know? Luo Shu turned his body sideways, glanced at the position of the ventilation duct just now, and then continued. Your father said that you had two boyfriends, and the police information, well, it must have been provided by your father. The first one is a British doctor. He should be Henry, I guess. He provides a rough solution for your ideal organ transplantation. Hiyushi frowned and said nothing. Some things can indeed be investigated, as long as enough effort is put in. Luo Shu chuckled. Idealists are most likely to go to bed with ideals. You fell in love, collided, and then what? If you want to realize your ideals, you need to do experiments, right? Organ transplants are not new. What you have to solve is for the big problem of xenotransplantation, you must need a lot of experimental data. In the beginning, you might steal stray cats and dogs, buy experimental mice, etc. But soon, you have a breakthrough. If you want to go further, you must conduct experiments with human beings. Perhaps, you were lied to at first. Henry went to hunt, alone to find a white mouse, weighing more than 100 catties, but one day you would be discovered by you, and then, you broke up with him bar. Hiyushi looked at Luo Shu's eyes, and became more and more apprehensive. She really didn't understand how this detective knew these things. What you said, most of them are correct, but I didn't break up with him, and I even helped him. He has lured some unruly prodigal sons, lured them to the remote wooden house where he conducted experiments, and then watched them be paralyzed by ether, and helped Henry tie them to the operating table. A pure smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Cut open their bodies, take out their hearts, livers, spleens and lungs, and replace them with real wolf hearts. She looked like she was imagining the most beautiful love story. Luo Shu has an expression of, I can understand. And, oh, this poor little love is so wonderful. But we still failed. Hiyushi laughed at himself. No matter how close we are to success, we still failed in the end. Those people, those experimental products, all died without exception, and the longest one lasted for 2 weeks. Maybe Henry is a genius, but he can't solve the problem. I'm desperate. We can't solve it. And my dad seemed to have discovered something at the time. He kept forcing me to go back and even threatened me with Henry's life. I had to choose separate from him and return to the country. Hiyushi, an amorous woman, sighed, I tried to find him later, but I lost his news forever. He is such a conceited person. Maybe he can't bear his own failure, so he will end himself. No, they succeeded. Then it was terminated by its own creation. Luo Shu secretly thought, there's no need to tell Hiyushi about these things. Luo Shu now just wants to complete the mission and get out of this ghostly place as soon as possible. When you return to Hong Kong Island, the ideal in your heart has not been burned to ashes, so Ren Wei, who proposed another solution, won your favor, right? Hiyushi didn't speak, but just looked disgusted. Luo Shu continued. You two had a brief relationship, and then found a more suitable relationship, a partnership. You worked together to create this clone base, but differences soon arose, and anyway only wants to make money, but you want to make human beings perfect creatures. Your contradictions are getting bigger and bigger, almost irreparable. The success of the alien species gave you hope, so you paid a higher price, sacrificed countless clones, and ignited your crazy dream. Obviously, you succeeded again. You are really a genius with courage. Of course, Ren Wei may be too, but he has been tightly controlled by you. Today, it should be your last transformation step. In fact, you have already thought about breaking away from your controlling father, but you haven't made up your mind yet. You know, if you just disappeared, your father will definitely use all his connections and abilities to find you, which will tie you up and make things very troublesome. I don't know what your final plan is, I only know that you want to get away, then you need a substitute. You have a very exploratory clone, codenamed Xiaomei. Today, oh no, it should have been yesterday. Yesterday at about 5 o'clock in the morning, she entered your private suite through the ventilation duct, and happened to be you hit it. She died of heart paralysis caused by the electric shock. You seem to be very effective in the fusion of electric eel genes. I was not 100% sure that you killed her, but now I am sure. You had also fused the gene of the electric eel, possessing the ability of strong electric discharge. Luo Shu stretched out his hand and smoothed his hair that was flying due to static electricity just now. Seriously, Hiyushi couldn't help laughing. It was a kind of strong ridicule. You are still thinking about the life and death of a mere clone. Does it make sense? The number of clones who died because of me. I've already lost count. Luo Shu said seriously. Of course it makes sense. Because I have to complete the task, SB girls. The Emperor paid off. The system finally popped up a dialogue box. Congratulations to the player, the main task has been completed. You have found the murderer. Hidden mission completed. You have found the clone base and solved the mystery of Hiyu's death. You have triggered a new mainline mission, kill Hiyushi, the man behind the scenes. Optional. Yes or no? This was the first time Luo Shu encountered an optional mission. And it's still the main mission. The main task can also be selected. Since there is a choice, it can be killed or not killed. Luo Shu looked at Hiyushi, who looked like a demon, and was curious about her ideals and plans. Ren Wei is dead. In the current script world, Hiyushi may be the only person who has mastered the trans-age genetic technology. In this era, whoever masters the technology far beyond the era, to some extent, is a god. Luo Shu actually wanted to give her a chance. If the follow-up of the script world can be traced, Luo Shu especially wants to see how such an idealistic demon messes up the world. But he was also a little tangled. The second main task. After completion, the score will definitely be particularly high. Hesitating, the brat in his arms bravely took a bite of the bad guy's big brother. Okay, Luo Shu was distracted, felt a little pain, and let go of Min. The moment he let go, the boy hurriedly ran behind his sister. Hiyushi's eyes were sharp instantly. Go back to the bedroom. The boy nodded. Okay. Then he ran away swiftly. Hey, Luo Shu smiled awkwardly. It seems that I have no choice. It can also be seen from Hiyushi's eyes that this girl must die by herself, no matter whether she will affect her plan or not. Hiyushi smiled slightly, tilted her head like some kind of cute little animal. Her strong tail with bony spurs was raised up, and the biggest tail thorn pointed at him. Let's say a last word. Luo Shu raised the muzzle of his gun and backed away quickly at the same time. Hiyushi flickered, and instantly shortened the distance. The leopard was walking in front of her eyes. The whole body was surrounded by electric light. It was crackling. The moment Luo Shu swept out the bullet yelled, "Assassination!" K. On the ventilation duct, Zhang Feng, who had been dozing off after waiting for a long time, was finally awakened by this sign. "It's really a code." Then shouted, "Brothers are here to help you." He didn't know how to get down, so he directly took the fulcrum of the rifle and shot, completely smashing the thin iron sheet of the ventilation pipe, and clearing the way for himself. Under. Hiyushi felt a little uncomfortable. She rushed straight to Luo Shu's position, was pushed away by the bullet a few inches, and just stood under the vent. No matter how fast her nerve reflexes were, she never expected that there were still bullets raining down on her head. Before jumping away, he received a few hits on his shoulders and head. "That's a rifle bullet." Chapter 67 said that this thing can penetrate a 3 to 4 mm thick steel plate at a distance of 500 to 600 meters. But Hiyushi, who was flesh and blood, did not die. She twisted her neck again, making a sour clicking sound. His eyes were as cold as a ghost, and he stretched out his hand. With his black and sharp fingertips, like a pair of tweezers, he pulled a bullet that was flattened under the high-speed impact from the top of his head. "Ah, it hurts." Hiyushi didn't even care about the bullet embedded in his shoulder, just smiled, "Baby, you are dead." Luo Shu stared dumbfounded. The rifle bullets couldn't break through the defense of her skull. What kind of animal gene is fused to do this? This is not scientific. Hiyushi's tail moved. Luo Shu raised his head and shouted, "Be careful. Step back first." He shouted slowly. The entire ventilation duct was sliced open by the bullet, and Zhang Feng's huge physique fell straight down from above. Zhang Feng feels that he is like a god descending from the earth at this moment, and it is rare for him to be unrestrained. "Come here." There was a bang. His feet landed firmly, almost at the same instant. Luo Shuji whip kicked him on the shoulder, and at the same time there was a soft pop. Zhang Feng's intense expression froze. 2 words were shortened. He opened his mouth, but he didn't say anything, he just spit out a big mouthful of blood. In the crimson blood, there were broken lung lobes. That sharp tail thorn, carrying many bony spurs like coniferous leaves, pierced through Zhang Feng's left lung. Zhang Feng's eyes were blank. The severe pain seemed to be shielded, just hopeless. Are you going to die?" Luo Shu realized that his kick didn't help him dodge completely, but just avoided being directly stabbed in the heart, so he decisively took the opportunity to attack, gritted his teeth and rushed forward, ready to draw his knife. But he is completely unsure at the moment. "Ro. Hiyushi can slow down a bit." The thick and terrifying tail twirled slightly, and was about to pull it out violently. With this pull, Zhang Feng's entire left lung will be smashed to pieces by bone spurs. Moreover, with Hiyushi's reaction speed and muscular explosive power, Luo Shu's physical fitness is still at the level of ordinary people, so it is impossible to meet her. At this moment, Zhang Feng made a move that Luo Shu had never thought of. He spat out another mouthful of blood, and then let out an unyielding roar. "Ah, ma's good." He raised his hands with all his strength, and grabbed the tail that pierced through his chest. "Ro, brother." Hiyushi's face is indifferent. At this moment, she is neither sad nor happy. "Do you think he hurt me? I am already a perfect living body." Luo Shu's voice rang in her ears. "Do you still have 20% of your health after all that searing in the metal pod?" Hiyushi raised her eyebrows. "What does it mean?" Clang. Tang Dao unsheathed Zhou. A knife light flashed across her eyes, causing Hiyushi to squint slightly. She has a strong premonition. She can't stop this knife. She wanted to pull out her tail, but was blocked for a second by that tiny force. Just 1 second. Sister killing sword technique. Draw the knife, behead. Name: Sister killing sword technique. Type: Skill, sword technique. Special effect 1. Draw the knife. Beheading. Charge for 1 second, draw the knife. The first knife hits a female NPC or a female enemy player. The opponent will receive real damage of 20% of the maximum health. Special effect 2. Passive, Fear Halo. After the first cut successfully sees blood, activate the passive. Injured female opponents will continue to have hallucinations of fear for the user, and continue to weaken combat effectiveness. Those with rich imagination or psychological trauma will be affected exponentially. Usage method: permanent mastery. Learning conditions: the sword domain has been unlocked, the spiritual domain has been unlocked. Requirements for use. There must be a real knife in the hand, and there must be a scabbard. Consumption. 100% spiritual power. Remarks. If you don't have a woman in your heart, draw your sword to be a god. The first page of the sword manual, kill your sweetheart. Sister killing sword technique is a skill that is affected and modified by abnormal source code. This skill is very different from the regular skills in horror games. It has no specific casting process. It must be based on the player's own arm strength, accuracy, reaction speed, ordinary sword drawing, and a hit the enemy. But without the blessing of special effects, the power of low-level players is very limited. In the eyes of an out-and-out monster like Hiyushi, his speed is almost stuck. Moreover, when using the skill, it forced a 1-second forward shake. Those who have played MOBA games know that the seemingly short-term forward swing is a fatal flaw in actual combat. If the first cut fails, then the awesome special effects will not come out. Luo Shu's knife has always been kept by Hiyushi. After all, 100% of the spiritual power will be emptied once, even if you miss it. This knife is out of the sheath, but if it misses, there will be no possibility of a second knife. Luo Shu was still thinking at first how to find a way to use guns to restrict her movement, and then wait for the opportunity to make a move. However, Zhang Feng, who behaved mediocrely in the whole script, is finally a man. Luo Shu drew his sword. The rubbing sound of the tang knife unsheathed was like a dragon's cry. Clang! The clear light of the knife flashed through the eyes of the two, and the sharp blade slashed towards Hiyushi's neck. Hiyushi didn't take the tail away, but suppressed the inexplicable anxiety in her heart, and simply picked it up with her hands. Not to mention a knife, even a bullet, I will catch it for you. At the moment when she was about to catch the white blade with her bare hands, she still didn't dare to push her big, so she squeezed her palm into a fist, raised her arm, and used the proliferated triangular bone shield on her forearm to block it. The sharp and thin blade cut on the bone shield of her forearm. No harm. Hiyushi laughed out loud. Ha! You stupid. Suddenly, her expression froze slightly. Yes, she can't make a sound. What happened? Trigger the skill determination of knife-killing sword technique. The judgment takes effect. At this moment, the special effect of the sister-killing sword technique appeared. An unremarkable ripple of knife light emerged from the blade and spread like a crescent moon. It pierced through Hiyushi's arm and neck in seconds without reason. So fast she didn't even know it. Hiyushi was so stiff that she couldn't move. At the last moment, she could feel the rapid loss of vitality, as if a big hole had been poked out of her soul. Hiyushi's lips were moving, and her big orange eyes were gradually soaked in blood, turning into a beautiful deep orange. After working hard for a while, she finally said a few words, "Why, maybe." Luo Shu didn't look at her, lowered his eyes, and retracted the knife handsomely. One knife style, I. Lion singing song. The audience in the live broadcast room can only see the introduction of the skill when the player uses the skill. Barrage. If it weren't for the skill introduction, I would have believed in your ghost. If it is placed outside, this is secondary school. It is greasy, but in the horror game, Shira is awesome. Broken sound. Sister killing knife technique. What the hell? Where did you get the skill? Where is the female boxer? Go in and charge him. Wow, this skill is so abnormal. With such a high real damage, there is actually a passive fear halo. Such a powerful skill, why not use it sooner? Brother, look clearly, the 1-second forward swing consumes 100% of the spiritual power. If the timing of using it is not right, if you can't kill anyone, just throw it on the street. I'm going. Before Luo Shu didn't save he bid Yushi to come out, and even turned the temperature in the cabin back to the maximum, so that's what he was waiting for. Health value below 20%, die directly. This time, even the passive is useless. Overbearing. Wonderful. This is Luo Shu's style. Occam's razor principle, if not necessary, do not multiply entities. Maybe Hiyushi is very strong and still has a lot of unused abilities, then don't use them. With one strike, the infinite possibilities of follow-up are ended. Hiyushi's eyes were full of resentment and unwillingness. You don't know. You killed someone who was going to change the world. The severed arm slowly slid down. Her head, too, fell off her neck. Blood, not money, gushes out. Luo Shu didn't know how much her gene had changed, even her blood was no longer red, but more purple-black. Luo Shu licked his lips, like blueberry jam. At this moment, Zhang Feng's eyes are also completely dark, and his health is close to 1%. It is already difficult to make any reaction. At this time, his system task jumped out of the dialog box. The main task has been completed. The player's situation is urgent, send it immediately. Without a countdown, Zhang Feng disappeared from the spot. Luo Shu also heaved a sigh of relief when he saw him disappear. Slowly sat on the ground, then slowly lay down, resting his hands on the back of his head, relaxed comfortably, staring at the ceiling in a daze. Beside him, the severed neck of the headless corpse was still gushing blueberry jam. They lay close together like a couple. Main mission 2 has been completed. Hiyushi, the black hand behind the scenes, is dead. Preparing to send. Countdown. 90, 89, 88. Luo Shu didn't choose to teleport immediately, he just lay down and rested for a while. Then he turned his head and looked at the hideous head beside him. Her eyes showed a frozen malice. Luo Shu looked at her tenderly, "What is your plan? I'm so curious." When the countdown reached 60, Luo Shu knew he couldn't delay. He still has work to do. According to the urine nature of horror games and the continuity of this scripted world. Luo Shu straightened up like a carp, turned over, took out a scalpel, and with a little effort, cut off one of Hiyushi's index fingers. Then hold this ferocious devil-like finger under the light to see. Aha! I have a Su Nuo finger. Inventory pop-up item introduction. Name: genetically modified human Hiyushi's finger. Type: experimental product. Quality: normal. Function: it contains Hiyushi's special DNA information, and it is possible to analyze the mature technology for making genetically modified humans through experiments. Whether the script can be brought out? Yes. Remarks: that, the friend who got this finger, have you ever thought that you may be a little sicker than the owner of this finger? Luo Shu put this unyielding finger in the inventory. This proves his thinking. The main god system of the horror game is quite flexible. In fact, he can jump out of a similar introduction wherever he cuts off any part. Either gene-modified Hiyushi's finger, or gene-modified Hiyushi's toe, or gene-modified Hiyushi's cecum. As long as any piece of tissue in her body contains a large number of cells with strong separation ability, it should be able to produce items that can bring out the world of the script. Of course, hair, nails, or scales shouldn't work. After Luo Shu got the finger, he was still not satisfied. He seized the time, first scraped off the hard scales on her chest and abdomen with a scalpel, and then cut open Hiyushi's tough and thick skin. Her skin itself has stab-proof properties. Fortunately, the scalpel is sharp enough. Luo Shu stabbed again and again, and then reached into all kinds of things, looking for treasures in her body. However, the prompt did not pop up. Luo Shu was very upset. This must be useful, whether it is bones, internal organs, or even the tough skin and scales on the body surface, they are all very valuable. But the system seems to be determined not to give him any more wool, no matter which part he takes out, there is no hint. According to the rules, anything in the script world cannot be taken away unless it is clearly brought out of the script. Luo Shu continued searching inside in disbelief, with a serious face, and wiped the sweat off his face with his hands, leaving behind some sticky purple-black blood. The door to the next bedroom was opened. The little cloned boy came out cautiously, lay down by the door, exposed half of his head, and looked towards the middle of the living room. The younger sister who turned into a monster lay on the ground. The head and neck are separated. The one riding on my sister, is that man just now. Kindness. Luo Shu heard his breathing, looked up and found the little boy peeking behind the wall with a dull face. Luo Shu didn't want to scare the child, after all he considered himself a gentle person. Squeeze out a kind smile as much as possible, wave your hands gently forward, and whisper, "Go, go. Go and play by yourself for a while, your sister and I have something to say." The boy's pupils are constantly shaking. He can't think anymore. At this moment, the scene the boy saw had begun to distort, turning into an illusion created by psychological shadows. An evil man in white clothes stained with blood was messing with her sister's abdomen, with blood all over his face and body. He smiles so wickedly, so bloodthirsty. The knife in his hand is as dangerous as the white teeth he shows when he smiles. And the younger sister's head, looking at herself, shouted silently. Run fast, run fast, run, boom. The boy fainted on the ground, his fragile nervous system was overloaded, and the protective switch was disconnected. Hiyushi is dead, but he will live a long time. For the rest of his life, would keep sitting with the same nightmare. In the nightmare, the devil was waving and smiling at him. The 90-second countdown is over. Except for that finger, Luoshu has no other goods. Feeling a little down. At this time, he also heard some noisy movements outside, and it seemed that many people broke in. Luoshu tried his best to howl again. The police, come in and wash the floor. Bang! The door blew open. The cops rushed in, but all they saw was a mess. Luoshu has disappeared. The reward is being settled for you. Luoshu came to the white and bright teleportation room, and he looked down at himself. The white coat was cleaned again until it was shiny and spotless. The self-cleaning feature is also great. Settlement has been completed. Main task, 2 halves. Hidden mission, 1/1. Clear the script, get experience points, 100. Clear the script and get the game currency, 1201. Obtained items equipment. Alloy tang knife forged by modern technology, finger of genetically modified person Hiyushi. Acquired skills, none. According to the player's specific performance in the script, 4 areas will be upgraded. Spiritual domain has been upgraded. Exploration field has been upgraded. The field of swords has been upgraded. The field of firearms has been upgraded. Spiritual domain, C. Field of investigation, C. Sword domain, D. Firearms field, D. Comprehensive score, S. Extra experience value, game currency bonus, 150%. Experience points, 250. Game currency, 300. Number of fans, 10,520. Fan coin, 280. Congratulations, the player has been upgraded. LV2, LV3. Obtain a small increase in basic attributes. Luoshu looked at the results of this round, and was very satisfied overall. Even many of them were bumper harvests that exceeded expectations. It is definitely not normal for the mental field to be promoted to sea level so quickly. Maybe it has something to do with the abnormal san value of oneself. Basically everyone can be promoted once. But the spiritual field has improved so much, it seems that it is useless for the time being, and I hope there will be surprises in the future. Exploring the field is related to reasoning, so frequent reasoning and upgrading are normal. Needless to say, in the field of swords and firearms, if there is no reaction to these two, then the proficiency will be for nothing. There is still one mechanical field that has not been unlocked. This makes Luoshu's obsessive-compulsive disorder attack a little bit. Overall score S, acceptable. What surprised him the most was that the number of fans had increased so much. He remembered very clearly that when the last game was settled, there were only 3,211 people, and the coin was only 70. In conversion, this one fan coin has 28,000 real money. Luoshu silently thanked him. Of course, if he knew how many real gold and silver tips those outside anchors who don't have to go through life and death can get every day, he might change his mind. In Luoshu's live broadcast room, the results are still displayed concisely on the black screen. The player has cleared the level. Comprehensive score, S. However, this time there is one more notification. The number of fans of player Luoshu exceeds 10,000 in a short period of time, and this player will be awarded the Potential Player Division, the Strongest Supernova recommendation. The outside world is already very late, 3:20 in the morning, but this ended live broadcast room is still very active. The barrage was swiped by. For 30 seconds. Too strong. Luoshu is still a newcomer. This is the second script world he has participated in. Counting the novice tasks, it is only the third. Has anyone made a record? Is he the fastest player to get an S score? I'll go back to the forum and look for it. Someone should have statistics. It's really too strong. I haven't deviated from the beginning to the end, and the direction of the rationale is all right. The task was originally limited to 24 hours, right? Luoshu seems to have solved the problem in 9 hours. I heard that horror games have hidden missions. I don't know if he played hidden missions. Sure, go back to the forum to see, there are a lot of big shots in this game. Is there anyone who has followed the live broadcast for 9 hours in a row? I'm going blind now. The strongest rookie, well deserved. Is it that strong? Everyone praises Luo Shu is invincible, but I think he played very hard in this round. Hee +1. Oh plus 9527. So you are very strong. You should go in and try. I ask sincerely, why are you mocking me? Okay, seeing that you may also be a new audience, let me explain. Let me put it this way, generally speaking, the script world of horror games is about to die, and it is even very easy to die completely. Normal. Yeah, I watched at least a dozen different players' scripted worlds, almost all teammates died, and I often saw. So, in comparison, Luo Shu is really strong. Have you noticed that he wasn't even injured? I just realized after you said that. He cleared the level without injury. Well, the last one too. Including novice missions as well. 3 levels in a row without taking damage. Yes, if it wasn't for the low attention of Mengxin, if those star players cleared the level in 3 high-end rounds without taking damage, they would definitely be able to become gods directly. Before the live broadcast closed, these viewers who had become fans of Luo Shu chatted for a long time. Does Luo Shu's gun count as one trick with 2 traps? It's okay, actually those 2 are not too weak. Well, especially the uncle at the end, who almost died, and gave Luo Shu a chance, very vigorous. That girl is very comfortable, what's her name? Yu Anqi is also a bit popular. Someone went to see the live broadcast room of the 2 of them. No, the water is going down. Together. If there is a replay, I'll go and see what Anqi was doing before the end. Well, I also want to see how many their ratings are. Let's go. At the same time, another teleportation room. Yu Anqi was also staring blankly at her own game settlement and progress. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.